Am I the asshole for wanting to move out when my family is forcing me not to? Hello everyone. This is my first ever Reddit post and English isn't my first language, so excuse any mistakes I might make. Now to the story. I've, 19F, been suffering from ED since I was 13 Y.O, orthorexia, bulimia, sports bulimia, and now binge eating. My parents have always been very supportive and helped me get through any relapses. This summer I wanted to start fresh. I've graduated high school and my ballet school. I'm a professional ballet dancer now. And I got a job offer in the same city that I grew up in. I found an apartment that was close to my parents' place because I love them very much. But my parents were against me moving out as they thought that I wasn't ready to live on my own yet. It was going well for a month, but then I started to get worse again. I was in a toxic relationship with my narcissist ex-partner, and after I ended things I fell into a deep depressive state and my bed came back. In frustration I talked to my parents and decided that I should go to the psychiatrist and start taking antidepressants and changed therapists. I decided to temporarily move back in with them. I now talked to my therapist about moving back to my place and she agrees with me. When I communicated that to my parents they absolutely freaked out and said that I'm not ready and I'd fall into the same problems and that it will be the end of my ballet career. When I told them that they got even angrier and if I'm proud of being the fattest dancer in the company. For context, I am the youngest there and I get really good opportunities and even solo roles. I am not obese but I also don't have the perfect ballerina body. I trust that I'll reach my best shape in time. After some more arguing I decided to lock myself in the bathroom to calm down. But they unlocked the door from the outside, which was a huge privacy invasion for me. Then I decided to pack my things and leave in the morning. The next morning as I was about to leave my dad told me that he would never speak to me again if I move out and won't help me in any situation, so I stayed but I will moving out after my next big show. Am I the a-hole for wanting to move out when I genuinely feel that I'm ready?
Am I the a-hole for refusing to discuss an issue with my roommate? I am currently in college and living in the dorms with a roommate. I type consistently less than 50 dB, which is actually considered within range for a quiet keyboard, but for the last few days, my roommate has been continuously hounding me over my keyboard volume, claiming that he can hear it through his noise-canceling headphones. I've obviously tried to type quieter, but that comes at the heavy expense of my typing speed. Nobody else has ever had a problem with my typing volume before this. I talked to my friends who advised me that it was doing no good to continue to argue about this and to stop discussing it. I told my roommate that I was done discussing this issue and pointed out that my typing volume is in fact well within a normal volume, so it's not like I'm typing abnormally or outrageously loud. My roommate didn't take it well and got angry with me for telling him I was done discussing it. So am I the a-hole? Would I be the a-hole if I went on a solo trip my mother asked me not to go on? I, 21M, recently booked a one-week vacation to Scotland. I've already gone there multiple times but was always traveling with other people. This time I'm planning on going hiking and doing a bit of wild camping on my own. To be clear, I'm not planning on camping for 6 nights somewhere in the jungle, only a night or two here and there a couple hours away from cities. I have experience with hiking and am in pretty alright shape, so it's not like I'd be doing something totally new, only the camping. I still live at home with my mother, not because I still want to. I have a part-time job but am using that money to pay for college, so I can't really afford my own place right now. Who has anxiety, can be a bit overprotective and even a teensy tiny bit controlling at times. Also TBH, she listens to more true crime podcasts than is good for her. When I told her about the trip, which is a couple months from now, she totally freaked out and started yelling at me. She was telling me I was being dumb, would get myself murdered, and also the classic, "How could you do this to me?" I was also told that there were lots of things she wanted to do but didn't because of her children, so I should just not take trips like this to spare her the stress / I'm being mean to her by doing this. I did try to explain to her that this is something I really want to do / I'm an adult, but there was really no getting through to her at that point. I'm honestly very torn. I really want to go but now I feel like I'm being mean. Should children not do stuff like this to avoid the stress on their parents? I honestly don't know right now. So would I be the a-hole if I still went even when my mother asked me not to? Am I the a-hole for not always calling my family? For a bit of context, I'm a uni student who is 2 hours away from home and I purposely chose a uni away from home to have a peace of mind to live in my own space. My family is too family-oriented for my liking and everyone in my fam always needs to know everyone else's business. There is almost no sense of privacy, which I've always hated since day one. They are also the type of people who need to have video calls daily morning and night to see what everyone else is doing. My POV. I don't have much going on in my life. ESP since uni is mostly just studying around the clock and I'm also not at all a video call person except one select friend, and even with her, I don't talk much on the video calls. It's usually just kept on for company because we're both the type to need company and it works for us since it's a long distance friendship between 2 cities, 8 HRS away. This given, I don't call my family given the above reasons, and when I do call, I just be getting nagged and lectured on how I should be doing this and doing that in uni blah blah blah, super annoying. My family gets super pissed that I don't call them. Which they hide as checking on me, but in reality I know they just want to know every single thing about my life down to the minute, and it really pisses me off because there's never a good outcome from these calls. I just get nagged for 45 minutes an hour each time and it's honestly draining. For example, they'll ask me how my day went and I'll tell them I had an event to attend, uni life YK. And they'll go on a lecture about how I shouldn't be wasting my time at stupid events like this when reality is that I go to these events for a short break in my day after constantly studying. They've also been complaining that I'm not calling enough, but the reality is I just don't like calls and I also have nothing going on in my life, so it would be absolutely pointless for me to be calling them all day every day. And one specific family member calls me every single hour to see what I'm doing and force me to give them my uni schedule so they would know when to call me, and when I don't answer they keep spamming my calls and messages to see what I'm doing, which pisses me off even more because sometimes I want peace and quiet without anyone or anything bothering me. They also like to emotionally blackmail and say that I don't even have the decency to check on them after everything they've done for me, and it's just rage bait at this point. So am I the a-hole for not constantly calling them?
Am I the a-hole for not going to my nephew's game? I, 30F, have a niece, 8, and nephew, 11, from my sister, 33F. My nephew is into boxing for the past year and a half and has had a couple of chances at having matches over the time, but nothing ever happened for various reasons. He now has a confirmed first match ever, and it's on a Saturday, but the time is unknown. I am told it's how these tournaments go, so it can be any time, but the match is in a town 2 hours drive away, one way. My wife and I initially wanted to go to offer support, but it was unknown until today if he would even debut on the tournament, and today it was confirmed he would, but unknown when, which would mean that we would have to go in the morning for a 2-hour drive, wait around to watch the match, and drive 2 hours back, basically spending the whole day there. As this was also at the last minute with an unknown schedule, and we also have 2 dogs that would require us to find someone to stop by to be with them. One is a 4-year-old rescue we just got less than a month ago, so they can't stay alone for long. I told my sister we actually won't be going. She asked me why, and I explained the above, and she said, well, what's the big deal, it's Saturday, you're not working as is. Whether we are working or not is irrelevant for me, as even though I really want to support my nephew, and we have always done so in the past whenever they had violin recitals, or whatever events, I don't want to spend a whole day waiting around and driving for one match when I am sure there will be more in the future. I explained this to her and also said that it's not like it's a World Cup of matches, there will be hopefully more. She lost her mind yelling, calling me selfish, and that I am only thinking of myself and not doing anything for them. This is where I lost it and told her they are acting very ungrateful and entitled, thinking everything should be expected of us, and that she is erasing everything we are doing for them by implying we are selfish for not doing this one thing. So am I the a-hole? What would you do? Am I the a-hole for telling my mother that we live a nomadic life? So, I, 17F, recently moved to another country and then moved house a couple of 2 times with my parents in a period of less than 2 years. This isn't the first time I've moved, as I've lived in almost every state and small town in my former country, which isn't small, before settling in where I live now. The problem started when my mother suggested we move house or even city again. This wouldn't have bothered me initially, but that week I was feeling kind of down because I felt like an outsider in this country. So I commented, laughing and not wanting to start a fight or anything like that our family could be considered nomadic. My mother got a little defensive, saying that I was complaining about something silly, and that living in so many different places was a privilege and so on. I didn't want to complain, since in the end I was just going to move out of the house in a bad mood, but I also didn't want to seem overly excited about the idea of packing all my things, moving to a new school with no friends, in a place where I would never feel at home. Anyway, I just need an outside opinion on all this so I don't feel so bad about this in my sleep. So am I the a-hole? What would you do?
Am I the a-hole for being annoyed that chores are not done correctly? Hello all. My wife, 30, and I, 38, have been married for a few years. We split chores and both of us are happy with the split. However, we recently moved into a much bigger house and both of us had to take on more chores, but I am growing more and more annoyed by the day by the poor nature my wife does her chores. Instead of putting dirty dishes in the dishwasher, she leaves them in the sink for me to put in the dishwasher. When she does laundry, she overloads the washing machine causing it to break, or adds too much soap forcing me to redo the entire load. If she does load the dishwasher, she does it in a way that will jam the machine, blocking the cleaning arms. We have a lid on our garbage bin and kitchen. Instead of throwing things away and closing the lid, she leaves it so the garbage spills out of the lid, even if the garbage is empty, leaving me to actually put it in. If the garbage is full, she just keeps throwing stuff on top, causing it to overflow, the bag to rip, and leaving me to handle it. A bunch of stuff like this. I have spoken to her about this time and again, shown her how loading the dishwasher/washing machine incorrectly can break it, begged her to throw garbage in the trash, not just leave it spilling out or overflowing, even asked after a while if this was weaponized incompetence because I can't understand why this keeps happening, but she claims that she is trying her best and I am a jerk for expecting things to be done my way and it's unfair to constantly correct her. Aita here, my wife is smart and I just can't understand how after this many times of asking and showing her over and over, these little things are still done so poorly. So am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for not wanting to help out with my mom's business? Throughout my life my mom has always gotten involved with pyramid schemes and get-rich-quick schemes. Her latest scheme is a photo booth. It is basically just an iPad on a stick that she got her brothers to invest in. She goes to events sometimes with it. My oldest sister called me the other day and basically demanded I help my mom at her next event. The event is in Pennsylvania and I live in NYC. It is in the middle of a Sunday and probably a 3-hour drive for me. I don't want to do it. It's on my day off, it ends at 4 p.m. on a Sunday, so the traffic just to get through Manhattan to Brooklyn would probably be an hour alone. I would have to leave my dog alone for 12 hours. I would be tired at work the next day as I have to get up early to be in the office. Again, it is an iPad on a stick. My oldest sister is going and probably bringing one of her teenage children. You really do not need 5 people to operate this thing. In spite of this, I sighed and said I guess I could do it. This set my sister off. She told me I owe our mother everything and I should be enthusiastic to help her, and that I was being selfish and to get over it. To be honest, this made me not want to go more. She has been very demanding recently, and it rubs me the wrong way that she's acting like I don't love my mom if I don't help her out with this. If I don't go, I know she's not going to talk to me for a couple months. Am I the a-hole if I don't help with this? What would you do?
Am I the a-hole for correcting a colleague? I am a docent at a museum where it's common for docents to help with each other's tours. Today I was at the museum and I noticed that my colleague made a small mistake while giving a tour, so I correct them, as politely as possible. I can accidentally come off as rude sometimes, but was making my best effort not to, and they return to their tour and I think nothing of it. Then they pull me aside at the end of the day and our conversation goes a bit like this. Good job today, but I wanted to talk about when you corrected me. We don't do that. If someone makes a mistake, you talk to them in private at the end of the day. When you corrected me, I was embarrassed. It threw me off. I was a bit confused, because other docents had corrected me during tours before, albeit when I looked to them for help. And have added onto my tours, but I understood because I also am a bit embarrassed when I get corrected, but I would rather be corrected than give wrong information, so I assumed they were the same. I apologized, and they said it was fine because I'm new, but their tone was pretty harsh, and they really stressed that I shouldn't correct them during a tour. So am I the a-hole? What would you do? Comment below.
Am I the a-hole for not wanting to get a U-Haul to help a friend move after taking a day off work last minute? My best friend is moving again. She stores all her clothes in ripped and torn trash bags instead of packing them into stackable boxes. About 8 months ago, I helped her move from a bad area to a much nicer area in another city. I rented a U-Haul and loaded her clothes and bags into the van while she mostly watched. The entire ordeal took about 8 hours from start to finish. I did all the heavy lifting while she talked on the phone to her friends. I work in sales retail and my schedule varies from week to week, so it's hard to plan things in advance as I can make a request for time off, but I can't always do it due to scheduling issues. I called in a few favors with my boss to get this day off yesterday as I was unable to move schedules around with my coworkers beforehand to get it done properly for coverage. Now she's moving again because to her it feels better to rent a room with a family in it in a bad area than to live in a studio on her own in a good area. I don't want to rent a U-Haul again knowing that it's not nearly as far as it was before and I'm fine taking my car. She can also use her car to help load things in and out and it would be slow, but wouldn't cost too much outside of gas. Instead of working around it, she screams at me and insults me for not renting the U-Haul for her again. So am I the a-hole here?
Am I the a-hole for telling my roommate her boyfriend needs to chip in for utilities if he's here most nights? I'm 36M and I live with my roommate, 30F. We split rent 50/50ths and utilities 50/50ths. For the last couple of months, her boyfriend has been over about 5 to 6 nights a week. He showers here, cooks here, and does laundry here. He's also started spending daytime here pretty often. It feels like we basically have a third person living here most of the week. Our electric and water bills have gone up. I brought it up calmly and asked if we could either limit overnights to a few nights a week or have him chip in for utilities since he's here so much. I suggested a simple split like making utilities closer to 1/3 each if he's here more than half the week. She got upset and said I'm being controlling and counting nights, and that she pays her share so she can have guests whenever she wants. I told her I'm not trying to police her relationship, I just don't think it's fair for me to subsidize another adult using the apartment like he lives here. Am I the a-hole for pushing for a utilities contribution, or fewer nights, instead of just letting it go? What would you do?
Am I the a-hole to not initiate conversation? Look, this may be my overreaction or pettiness. I am friends with 2 people at my tuition. Our friendship was strong and mostly started because we all shared the same surnames. I come to tuition earlier than the girls and keep a seat for them. Our tuition is also kind of weird since they like to keep students compact and save space, so I have to be in constant worry that the teachers might make someone else sit in their place that I have to save for them. Now recently they both come considerably late and rarely talk to me. I don't recall doing anything that might have upset them. I'm a quiet, responsible person. Just yesterday I had confronted one of the girls about being late and all, and she said that she had to stay at the hospital for her grandmother. I stopped talking to her altogether and stopped talking to the other one as well. Today I sat alone on a very rare case, everyone else sat bunched up with their respective groups, and just as class started the two girls came and sat with me. They didn't talk to me at all and they would say both of us are very smart. Considering I didn't have beef with the other girl, this was very heartbreaking for me. They didn't talk to me at all. Not did I do the same, as I have an ego as well. Well, is this a form of miscommunication where these two are assholes? Am I the a-hole for telling my coworker the office prank wasn't funny and refusing to participate? I, 23M, work in a small office. We're the type that celebrates birthdays with supermarket cake and a card everyone signs. There's this guy on our team, mid-30s M, who loves banter. He's not malicious, but he pushes things. Last week it was my birthday. I don't like big attention, but whatever. I came in and my desk was completely wrapped in tin foil. Keyboard, mouse, chair, monitor. Even my water bottle. Everyone was laughing. Someone filmed my reaction. I smiled at first because I assumed it was light. Then I realized they'd also changed my desktop background to an old LinkedIn photo of me that I hate. Like zoomed in. Slightly distorted. And they printed it and taped it to the wall behind my desk. Everyone was watching me. I just stopped smiling. I said, "Can we not do this?" The banter guy said, "Oh come on, it's your special day. Take a joke." I said I didn't find it funny and started unwrapping everything quietly. No yelling. No swearing. Just not playing along. The mood got weird fast. Later my manager pulled me aside and said I killed the vibe and that it was meant to be team bonding. Apparently they spent their lunch setting it up. Now some people are acting awkward around me. One said I could have just laughed and moved on. Another said I made it uncomfortable by being serious. Here's my thing, if I had fake cry laughed and pretended it was hilarious, I'd be rewarding it. And I genuinely felt embarrassed being filmed while everyone waited for a reaction. I didn't insult anyone. I didn't storm out. I just didn't perform gratitude for something I didn't enjoy. Am I the a-hole for refusing to play along?
Am I the a-hole for wanting my bed to be a color I want even if it doesn't match my room? I 19F share a bedroom with my sister 14F. She recently got a new bed, so our mother took us shopping to buy new bed sheets. I bought some green ones with plants on, my sister chose purple. Her favorite color is purple and she got her way when we had the room decorated years ago. Purple walls, purple curtains. Well, I wanted to buy a green valance sheet to match my duvet cover. My mother told me no because it wouldn't match the room. She wanted me to get purple or pink. I said no, that I didn't like purple and that it was bad enough sharing a bedroom that I can't decorate to my choosing, but I wanted my bed to be my color. She insisted on pink valance sheets for me and my sister, so I told her fine, I would buy the green one myself. She then called me a cow ECT and said that I ruined everything and to go put the pink ones back and buy 2 green ones. I said I didn't want to match my sister, I wanted my bed to be my own since the rest of my room wasn't. I ended up buying the green myself and the purple for my sister because she didn't even want pink either. We caused a small scene in the shop and she is now giving me the silent treatment. My mother is emotionally immature and I'm her least favorite child, middle child but oldest daughter, and she loves to argue with me. So, am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole because I let my dog lick off my plate? I had a friend over for lunch today and made us some grilled ribeye steaks. I seasoned them with just salt and pepper, no garlic or onion. After we finished up lunch, I put my plate down for my dog to lick up the remaining steak juice off my plate. My friend immediately had a visceral reaction and was acting like this was one of the most disgusting things they have ever seen. They proceeded to tell me how unsanitary this was and that they never want to eat my cooking ever again because they now question my kitchen hygiene standards. I replied that the plates go directly in the dishwasher and are completely sanitized and asked how they felt about eating off of plates from a restaurant. They said, it's not the same, it's an animal and animals need separate bowls. I never thought about it from their perspective. I grew up with dogs my whole life and this is just something we did growing up. Also, the fact they don't trust my cooking hygiene standards / don't want to eat my homemade food ever again cuts really deep, and this whole incident is making me really question if I really am the problem here. So am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for friend always mad at me for no reason at all and I don't know what to do about it? So, the 3 big pillar of why I do this post are: he get mad because he has to repeat himself. He get mad because I don't know something. He get mad because lose or die in game. So, we would play a game, then I would ask something like wait where are the ____, then he would proceed to say something like oh it's there but there would not tell me where it is, so I make the mistake to ask, where they're making him mad and telling me I'm stupid because I don't know here there is. For the second case, it would be something around the same as the first. I would ask where something is and he would say are you kidding me, dumbass, because I wouldn't have looked very specifically in the corner of my screen to see a button. And the third case is a bit more complex. We are playing a game, then I kill him with some stupid overpowered character, then he would get mad because he died. The second after, he kill me with the same overpowered moveset over and over. Other situations would be when I kill him and him at 1 horsepower and I would start saying things to ragebait, because I know he's better than me at the game and it's just satire to say I'm better than him, but he would proceed to literally say personal attack against me? Like, I didn't know you were bad at the game and obese. Like, it's for no reason at all. I'm saying stuff just to mess around and he would directly use RHE stuff I hate about myself, and if I say that's he's mean he just say that I do the same when literally everything I do with him almost only revolt about not making him mad, even when I would say some meanish stuff I would laugh about it to signal it's not mean or not real. So, for the help I need, I don't know what to do, he's my only friend I have that I can play game with, I really feel like I give too much for what he give in the friendship, I started being afraid to even ask question or explanation when playing with him, I don't know why he would be so mean to me, I don't ask question to make him mad? Then why would he think I do? I don't want to drop him because I would just end up alone on my weekend. I don't know why I can't force myself to say that it's making me sad. Do I even do anything to be an asshole? Am I the a-hole for disagreeing with my aunt? My Aunt F, 43, who is well known and respected by so many for her strict and high-handed style is someone I really admire and respect a lot. Growing up I always loved how everyone was always in their best behavior whenever she was around. She was a no-nonsense person and never tolerated any form of disrespect. I'm M, 25, a creative and fashion enthusiast who is overly passionate about his work, style and appearance. The nature of my work requires me to look really good, keep up with modern-day fashion trends especially because I'm required to model from time to time. I won't even hide the fact that this has been my source of income and how I'm able to provide my basic needs. Recently I ran into my aunt at a family function and she wasn't happy that I had dreadlocks on and she wanted me to cut them off instantly at that point. I tried every possible way to explain why I had to go on dreads, and how it aided my fashion and aesthetics. She wasn't ready to hear an explanation from me so unfortunately I told her no and I wasn't going to cut off my dreads because it's a part of me and a symbol of my work. It's how I'm able to earn and provide for myself without depending on anyone. So am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for not moving my car in the snow after a neighbor left a note? I live in Brooklyn and use street parking. Parking rules were suspended for like 3 weeks after the recent storm. Last weekend, I paid a teenager to dig my car out so it would be ready when I needed it to move it by this weekend. Friday, I planned to drive to dinner. I found a note on my windshield from the guy parked in front of me asking me to text him when I moved my car. His plan was for me to pull out so that he could reverse into my clear space and then drive forward out of his own snowed-in spot, rather than dig himself out. This leaves his spot either unusable or needing to be shoveled by the next person who parks there. I saw the note Friday night when I actually went out to move the car, not sure when he left it. When I tried to start my car, the battery was dead from sitting idle in the cold. I was in a rush, so I borrowed a car for the evening and didn't get a chance to deal with my battery until the next day. When I went out to try my portable jump starter Saturday morning, it didn't do anything. It was also in the cold plus wasn't fully charged, so I took it in to charge overnight, as it requires. This morning, Sunday, I went out with the jump starter to get the car running. My neighbor, whom I'd never seen before, was outside with a shovel. As I approached, I waved and asked in a friendly tone if he had left the note. When he saw me, he seemed angry. He confronted me, saying I should have texted him as soon as I saw the note, although it asked me to contact him when I moved the car, which I would have done, despite my disapproval of his plan to exploit the labor I paid for and to leave the snow blocking his spot for someone else to deal with. I explained that my car wouldn't start in my jumper, like 2 cubic feet and in my arms, so he couldn't have missed it, had to be charged overnight. I was about to jump it and move it. He seemed offended and kept muttering to himself that it was weird that I hadn't called him to update him. He also asked if I had been out of town and which building I lived in, which felt like intrusive and aggressive in the context. Then he disappeared. TLDR. I paid to have my car dug out of the snow before I needed to use it. The neighbor's plan was to rely on me moving my car so he could avoid shoveling his own space, and then blocking the space by parking where my car was or leaving the space for someone else to deal with. My car was incapacitated, dead battery, from Friday night until Sunday morning. I did not respond to the note, which asked me to contact him when I moved, before I moved my car because I was dealing with my own stuff. He was a little aggressive when I encountered him, once I had the means to move my car. I feel like I didn't do anything wrong since I couldn't move the car even if I wanted to, but his reaction has me wondering if I broke some unwritten rule of Brooklyn snow etiquette. So am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for driving my own car to work? I, F21, share an apartment with 2 people. I am the only one who owns a car. Naturally, I sometimes let my roommates use my car for normal stuff like running to the store etc. Recently, I've been letting one of my roommates take the car more often because she works a good ways from the apartment while myself and our other roommate work within walking distance. So the last 2 weeks I've been letting her drive the car so long as she picks up and or drops me and our other roommate whenever possible and we've happily been walking the rest of the time. This particular roommate works at a coffee shop and often works either opening, for 30-10, or closing, 3 to 9:30, shifts so she is often available to drive us. I work at a bakery and work 8 to 4. This morning when I got up for work my roommate wasn't up yet. I knew she worked a closing shift so I wasn't worried, but I hadn't counted on her not being awake to drive me and therefore would have been late if I had walked so I went ahead and drove myself. My work is a 11-minute easy walk away and I knew she had the time to come get the car before work so I drove myself. About 15 minutes after I left she woke up and immediately started throwing a fit saying that I should have woken her up instead of taking the car and forcing her to come get it. She was apparently so angry at me she took it out on our other roommate and all but forced her to call her Uber to go get the car instead of walking because her feet hurt. I'm not allowed to look at my phone while at work, so I didn't know any of this till my lunch break when my other roommate told me because the first never said a word to me. So, am I the asshole for driving my own car to work? Am I the asshole if I do not want my boyfriend's brother who is also my roommate hanging around when I have people over? I live with my boyfriend and his brother. It is a pretty chill living situation for the most part, except when I have guests over. His brother always includes himself without asking. I'm gonna be honest, he's not my favorite person. He is lacking in social skills, talks about people nobody knows like we should, talks over people, doesn't listen and makes every story about himself. Tonight I had 8 friends over for a night of grilling and hanging out. We bought nice steaks, I made fresh bread, sides, and dessert. He completely inserted himself into the entire evening without even asking and even sat down and got himself food. It's so awkward. My friends are not too fond of him either. BC the way he acts, he's not a bad guy, just a little socially inept. When he has friends over I give them space and don't linger or eat their food, and honestly I don't want to hang out with them anyways. I feel bad for not wanting him around, we are just very different and I don't think the way he does things is appropriate. I would be less annoyed with the situation tonight if he has at least asked to eat. How do I set a boundary with him nicely? Edit, for context we all equally pay the same amount in rent. We do not share meals and had an issue with this early on and then set that boundary. We all moved into this house at the same time. Edit 2. We have a pretty large place, it is a house not an apartment. The roommate has the entire lower level to himself, therefore he has a private space large enough to host. The kitchen and outside deck is on the main level, which is where we were at. He also has people over every Thursday for poker, they are allowed and up late on a weeknight. It's never an issue and me and my boyfriend never insert ourselves and hang out with them. He has made it clear his basement area is not a space that we can hang out, even though he has a huge TV down there that was given to him by his parents who are also my boyfriend's parents. Edit 3, I do not mind if he comes up and says hello, I am not banning him from speaking to my guests. I just don't want him to sit down and insert himself all night. So am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for not paying for my mother's $4,000 wardrobe and eventually screaming at her? My wife and I moved to the US, SF, from India back in 2022. I was making about $8,000 a month after taxes, apart from stocks. While my annual salary sounds massive when converted to Indian rupees, my family doesn't seem to realize that I am not spending in rupees. Between SF rent, general expenses, and a loan I was still paying off in 2022, we were barely saving $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Within 3 months of moving, my parents asked me to buy my brother a $1,000 laptop, which I did. I also bought my dad a $2,200 laptop. He didn't necessarily need it, but I remembered how he bought me an expensive laptop when I joined engineering, so I wanted to do something similar for him. I have also spent on other things, sending money home almost every other month, $300 here and $600 there. I even sent my parents on an expensive weekend getaway to a 5-star resort. Mind you, I have only stayed in budget hotels myself even to this date. My mom expressed the desire to have a German wardrobe in the living room and I said she could go and ask around how much it would cost. I assumed it would be around $1,500. She comes back and says she went to a store and made a deposit for one that would cost almost $4,000. I was taken aback and I asked her why she had to make a deposit without once consulting me. I told her I could not spare that kind of money because we had been in the US for less than a year by then and did not have enough savings. We did pay for many other things after this instance. For example, my mom needed surgery and they did not want to go to any of the hospitals where their insurance would pay. So I paid for the whole thing, including the stay and food at a 3-star business hotel for 2 weeks. I did have it in my mind to one day pay them for the wardrobe. It is just that things happened. My wife had to move to a different city for her MBA, which increased our expenses, and then I lost my job in the middle of 2024. So I have not been able to pay back. Now I should mention that I have not been the best of sons. For the first 5 years of my job, I hardly sent any money home. I had to pay off a student loan that took anywhere from 30% to 50% of my salary. Plus, I was profligate and undisciplined with money and ended up incurring massive credit card debt. But I cleaned up my act, paid off everything, and even started saving. Before moving to the US, I did buy my parents a few expensive appliances and other things. But for the most part, I was not of much help. My parents also paid for my wedding, money that I am yet to pay back. Anyway, the other day my mother brought up the issue of the wardrobe and how I only make promises but never fulfill them. I lost it. I screamed at her and told her how she is constantly counting what we have spent on ourselves and not on her. It was not pretty. Am I the a-hole for not paying for that German wardrobe back then? Am I the a-hole for screaming at my mother? Am I the a-hole for telling a child to stop and wait their turn because I was using the playground? I was in a shopping mall with my mom. We were waiting for my brother to finish his haircut. We had like an hour of time. There was a playground in the mall, so we went there. In the playground there was a thing where you could play tic-tac-toe, like those blocks that you can turn around. I asked if my mom wanted to play tic-tac-toe with me. We were minding our business, playing tic-tac-toe, and suddenly kids came up and started playing with the tic-tac-toe thing, just hitting it, twisting it, etc. I started to get annoyed, so I told them to stop. The mom of one of the kids came up and started yelling at us in French. She told us that they are just children and we didn't want to start a fight, so we walked away. The kids were like 2 and 4, they don't know how to play tic-tac-toe. But the children were just running around, all they wanted to do was just hit things. Meanwhile, me and my mom were literally playing the game as we wanted. Yes, I know we are adultish and we don't belong in a playground, and the kids were just playing, I understand that. But I feel like this should be an opportunity for the mom to tell their child to wait their turn and say something like, "Hey look, those people are playing a game, maybe you could wait until they are done." I feel like the mom should teach their kids respect. So, am I the asshole for telling them to stop?
Would I be an asshole if I told off my husband's aunt for feeding my child without consent? My baby, 10 mom, has a severe non-IG-mediated allergy to corn and all corn derivatives. Everyone in our family knows about his allergies. I have spent hours and hours researching and refining the foods my son can consume without having an allergic reaction, full body eczema, painful gas, blood and mucus in the stool, absolute misery for about 72 hours after consumption. My husband took our kids, for F and 10 mom, to his family farm overnight while I had another commitment in town. I had prepared and sent all the baby's food to ensure he was eating safe foods and wouldn't have a reaction. Hello, postpartum anxiety. For context, this is a large dairy farm operation with multiple homes on the property. His aunt and uncle live in one house and his grandparents in another. After breakfast at his aunt's house, our son was starting to get fussy for a bottle. My husband had washed the bottles and left them to dry at his grandma's house. He ran over between the houses, about 300 m away, to grab a clean bottle for my son. He was gone less than 3 minutes total. When he returned, his aunt was bragging about how much our son loved her cinnamon buns. My husband argued with her, saying how he has allergies and he can't be given food all willy-nilly without one of us present to check ingredients. She claimed he will be totally fine because it was only a few bites. So here I am 24 hours later with my distraught baby screaming in pain all day, covered in an eczema flare and pooping blood. I want to reach out to his aunt and tell her how reckless and neglectful and shady it was to feed our baby anything without our consent or presence. It especially infuriates me that she did it so sneakily in the mere couple of minutes he ran out to grab a bottle. I was in a blind rage when my husband told me what happened. Would I be in a holy if I sent a strongly worded message about how absolutely disgusting I think her actions were to my defenseless baby? What would you do? Would I be the a-hole if I told my friend her boyfriend sucks and to stop bringing me into it? So last week me, 22F, and my friend, 21F, we'll call her Anna, were hanging out in a teacher's classroom between classes during a break period on campus. We both invited both of our partners, both 21M, mine is Dean, hers is Eric, to come join us while we were in there. My partner came to join us, hers said he would. Well, he never showed. She tried to talk to him and figure out why he didn't, he never answered. My boyfriend, her boyfriend's best friend, called Eric and Eric answered and said he didn't want to be there because he found it disrespectful to sit in a teacher's classroom that he hadn't been taught by. They got off the phone and then Anna started telling me and Dean how annoyed she was about it and that she wished he could just do this for me. For context, this is a common occurrence of Anna asking Eric to do something with or for her that is small, and him not doing it. After the break was over, Dean and Eric had the next class together. It is a small group STEM class and Eric went to Dean and asked him his thoughts on the situation. When Dean said he thought Eric was in the wrong and he should have just done the small thing for Anna, Eric lost it, told him to but out of my relationship and Dean said F you asked my opinion, dude. More context, Dean is very confrontational to anyone. He has told me that it was a small disagreement between the two of them and it got heated but ended quickly. Well, Anna texts me a few hours later with screenshots of her and Eric's conversation where he said they got in a screaming match and the entire class teamed up on him. When I tried to ask Anna if she really believed him, she said there's another side to the story and basically called Dean a liar. She told me that what he said was not okay and I needed to speak with him about it. I personally believe Eric is in the wrong. He didn't have to come to the room, or be rude when ignoring Anna and explaining why he didn't come, but I also don't have control over Dean confronting him and will not be trying to speak with him about it. Eric asked Dean's thoughts and got mad when it wasn't what he wanted to hear. Anna has told me before to tell Dean to stop talking with Eric about their relationship, despite Dean always being the one looking for opinions, especially when Eric is in the wrong and she knows it. Ultimately, I want to tell Anna that Eric sucks and she and him need to figure out their own stuff and stop asking for me and my boyfriend's opinions if they don't like what we have to say. TLDR. My friend's boyfriend always ignores her and when she asks for help from me she never likes my answer and tells me to control my boyfriend when her boyfriend asks mine for advice and they don't like what we have to say. So would I be the a-hole if I told her to fix it herself and stop asking for help? What would you do? Comment below.
Am I the a-hole for calling a friend out after he asked me to book a flight for him and never paid me back? I have a friend I've known for a few years. We're not childhood friends, but we've hung out a lot and I considered him someone I could trust. A few months ago he called me in a bit of a rush saying he needed to travel urgently but was having issues with his card. He asked if I could book the flight for him using mine and said he would send me the money back in 2 days once his payment came in. The ticket wasn't cheap, but since we were friends and he sounded stressed, I went ahead and booked it for him. 2 days passed and I didn't hear anything from him. I figured maybe he was still sorting things out, so I gave it a little time. After about a week I messaged him just to remind him about the flight money. He replied pretty casually saying something like, "Yeah, I'll sort it out soon." Another week went by and still nothing. When I tried bringing it up again, he started acting like I was bothering him. His replies got shorter and he made it seem like I was being impatient or annoying for asking. At one point he even said something along the lines of, "Bro, relax, you'll get it." What frustrated me wasn't just the money, it was the way he was treating me like I was the problem for asking about something he promised to pay in 2 days. Meanwhile I could see him posting online, going out and living normally. Eventually I got tired of feeling like I was chasing him for something he asked me to do for him. The next time we were with some mutual friends I mentioned it and said something like, "Hey, you still haven't paid me back for that flight you asked me to book." He immediately got defensive and said I was trying to embarrass him and that I shouldn't have brought it up in front of people. I told him I had asked him privately multiple times and he kept brushing it off or acting like I was disturbing him. Now things are awkward. He says I'm wrong for calling him out publicly and that I made him look bad. A couple of friends think I should have kept it between us, while others say he should have just paid me back like he promised. At this point I'm wondering if I handled it the wrong way, even though I feel like I was just asking for my money back. So am I the a-hole? What would you do? Subscribe for more.
Am I the asshole for being horrified when my partner, 40M, peed in a mug? I am still a bit shocked to be honest, so I will try to be as brief as possible. Am I really looking for some outside perspective because I don't know if I am being unreasonable and difficult here or is this objectively messed up? My partner came back home for lunch. He went into the kitchen and said something like, "I need to pee." As he was walking away to go upstairs I asked him to slide his shoes off because we add new carpet slide down. He then came back and said, "Forget it, I don't have time," took a mug with a leftover coffee and peed in it in the kitchen right next to me, sort of laughing. I was just stunned. He kept laughing and saying, "I told you I really needed it," and I just stared, I think with the sheer horror in my face. He then poured the piss out into the sink was empty, and thoroughly cleaned the mug. I said to him not to bother because I want that cup in a bin. He then started to get annoyed and saying, "Don't be like that, I told you I needed it." I said to him that by the time he came back to the kitchen he could have slid his shoes off and be upstairs in the bathroom. He then said, "You had to ruin my lunch and probably the weekend, why do you always have to be such a drama queen, you make me feel like an absolute piece of shit." I barely said anything because I was absolutely shocked and disgusted. I was trying to explain why I was so disgusted but he just kept interrupting and saying, "Do you know how much I needed it?" In the end I was just quiet and he left. I don't know what to think. Am I an asshole here? He is pretty convinced that it was nothing and I have made him like crap about it. Is this behavior normal? Have I overreacted and made him feel bad for no reason? Am I the a-hole? What would you do? Subscribe for more. Am I the a-hole for calling a tow truck on a car parked in my spot? I, 27, moved to a townhouse-style apartment complex with my husband, 36, back in 2022. Our apartment complex offers gated parking with assigned spots for $25. If you're parked in the gated area without an assigned spot or tag stating you pay to park in the gated area, then your car gets towed. There are multiple signs in the entrance stating this. We decided to pay for 2 spots to be closer to our apartment and to make it easy for when I have my son with me. Recently, the complex started doing some construction work and the apartment manager sent out an email stating that certain parking spots will be reassigned temporarily to allow the workers easier access. In this email, it specifically states to see her in the office to get a new temporary spot and not to park in spots they are not assigned to. Our spots were not reassigned. Well, a few nights ago, my husband and I were out and came home late to find someone parked in my spot. We didn't know who the car belonged to, so we could politely ask them to move, so I moved close to my neighbor's spot and hoped the tow truck didn't make his routine drive by that night. Thankfully, he didn't. The next day, I got a message from neighbors saying they saw the man parking in my spot and told him he was parking in someone's assigned spot. He responded with, "I'm not moving my car." Last night, my neighbor messaged me that the same man parked in spot again. At this point, I was a little frustrated, so I came home and got the number for the tow truck. I called and made a complaint that someone was in spot. I gave them the number of my spot along with the description of the car. My neighbor and I sat outside by our doors waiting for the tow truck to make sure they took the right car. There have been issues in the past with them taking the wrong car. Now this part, I'll admit is a little petty, when the tow truck arrived and started grabbing the car. My neighbor and I were clapping and laughing. It's not like the man didn't already know it was a possibility because my neighbors did warn him. The apartment manager did send out notices about this. Also, if I had let it go, I would be the one at risk of getting towed as well. Which I can't afford at the moment. I sent my husband pictures of the car getting towed and he had a few words for me when he got home from work. He felt I shouldn't have called the tow truck. He feels I'm starting unneeded confrontation. We've lived here peacefully for 4 years and now I'm starting problems with people. He thinks the guy is gonna retaliate against me. He said he didn't feel like a parking spot is worth the risk I'm putting myself in. I told him I wouldn't have done it if we didn't pay for assigned spots. I wouldn't have done it if my car wasn't at risk of being towed for being in the wrong spot. But, now I'm wondering. Is my husband right? Was I an a-hole for getting his car towed? Am I the a-hole for deciding not to share my sodas with company? I, 26F, still live at home for personal reasons. For context, I have a mini fridge in my room where I keep a personal stash of sodas. Well, my mom has gotten into the habit of offering my sodas to guests without asking me. She just says something like so and so would like one so please bring one down. Normally I cave but this time I just got fed up and told her no I'm not gonna bring one down for our guest I never offered one. She then calls me on my phone multiple times to call me selfish and tell me how wrong I am. I tried explaining it's not really about the soda itself it's the idea that it should be my choice whether I offer from my stash. I should be allowed to say no to which her response was it extremely selfish to ever say no about something like that. When I told her I don't think it's selfish to want to say in how I share my things she said that if I asked 100 different people they'd all say the same thing as her. So is she right? Am I the a-hole? Does this make me selfish?
Would I be the a-hole if I asked my flatmate, that bakes, to buy their own ingredients? TLDR, my flatmate bakes stuff for us using some of my ingredients without asking and I can't really afford it. My flatmate and I, early 20s, have been mostly sharing everything in our flat from food to shampoo. At the start of the year, I was very happy to do this. My income was a lot different. We buy our own groceries because my flatmate has a pretty different diet and I'm not over the moon for almond milk or anything gluten-free. That being said, she does take my milk, cheese, butter, yogurt, ham etc. without asking. Now, as she's been struggling to find food she can eat, I've said she can have some of my food. So am I being silly for being a little frustrated that she will happily use not just a bit, or have a taste, but use loads at a time? The catch is, I don't go into her stuff and if I were to, I ask and let her know how soon I can replace it. Because she could say no sorry I'm saving that for this thing I'm making. Because like, when you want to cook your girlfriend a dinner you've been planning for a week, it's not fun to find out that you no longer have onions to use. After you just bought one the day before. The thing is I don't want her to think she can't have anything. I do genuinely like to share and don't keep a tally or anything. But stuff like butter and cheese I try to be careful when I buy because it's pretty expensive and I'm no longer in a position to share this much. Like if I get cream cheese I'd like to at least get a taste before she uses it all or scoops it up with the same spoon she used for tuna. Anyway. She loves baking and she shares the stuff she bakes with me. So I'd feel like an arse if I were to ask her to buy her own butter and milk. Yes, the sugar and flour, cocoa powder, and baking powder were also bought by me but she has since replaced these herself. I genuinely never really bake anymore so really didn't care about that stuff being used up. Am I the a-hole? What would you do? Subscribe for more. Am I the a-hole for fixing my daughter's car when her boyfriend said he'd handle it? My daughter, 21F, and I have always been pretty close. She moved in with her boyfriend a couple months ago. It was a little tough seeing her move out but I know she's an adult and building her own life. She drives an old Corolla with a lot of miles on it. A couple weeks ago she mentioned the steering wheel had started shaking when she got up to highway speeds and sometimes the front end would shudder when she braked. She told me her boyfriend said he would take care of it. Another week went by and it still hadn't been looked at. Last weekend she came by my place and said it was getting worse and it was starting to make her nervous to drive. So I took it for a quick drive and sure enough the wheel was shaking pretty good around 60 miles per hour and it shuddered when I hit the brakes. I pulled the front wheels off in the driveway and it was pretty obvious the front brake rotors were warped and the brake pads were worn unevenly. I ran to the parts store, grabbed new rotors and pads, and swapped them out that afternoon. Took a couple hours and after that the car drove smooth again. My daughter was really happy and thanked me a bunch. To me it wasn't a big deal. I've worked on cars most of my life and she's my kid. A few days later she and her boyfriend came over for dinner. At one point he pulled me aside and told me I shouldn't have fixed the car. He said it was his responsibility as her boyfriend to handle that kind of thing and that by doing it myself I stepped on his toes. I told him I wasn't trying to prove anything. The car was getting worse and I just fixed it while she was there. Since then he's been pretty short with me and the vibe has been a little weird. My daughter says he feels like I undermined him. From my point of view she's still my daughter and if something on her car is unsafe and I can fix it in an afternoon I'm going to. So am I the asshole? What would you do?
Am I the asshole for getting home insurance cancelled? A friend had a birthday party at their house for their daughter, 11. My daughter, 10, was invited. Eventually the kids decided to play football and BG's dad was throwing the football and my daughter was running to catch the football. This is important to know for later. Last summer, while out of town, my friends had an above-ground pool that broke and flooded the backyard. It caused a massive amount of damage. Their homeowner's insurance got involved because of the structural damage that this pool breaking caused. Due to the construction that they had been having, the area where they were playing football had ruts in the ground from the machinery that they had in the backyard to reconstruct the retaining wall. As my daughter was running to catch this football, she tripped over a rut. When she fell into a large metal box that was the housing for the pool pump and water intake/outflow. The box and something inside broke and water began flooding the backyard. They turned the water off, but they had to turn the water main off because of the way that they decided to fix this pump when the pool broke originally. So they were without water for about 48 hours until they could get a plumber to come out and actually fix this pump correctly. When my daughter fell, she broke her collarbone, and she severely sprained her ankle and knee. About a week ago, we received a certified letter from our friends, informing us that they were charging us for the cost of repairs to this broken pump, the cost of the water damage to the backyard, as well as them being without water for 48 hours. Here is where I may be the asshole, because immediately upon receipt I called their homeowner's insurance. This is information I had previously from discussing the situation that had developed over the summer with my friend, so that I could submit my daughter's medical bills to them. So I could be the asshole because I am being petty. My friend called upset that I would report this to their homeowner's insurance because their homeowner's insurance had already increased due to their claim, and now they received information that were being dropped due to their excessive claims. Do I have medical insurance for my child? Yes, I do. Up until I received the certified letter, my husband and I were going to cover the cost of my daughter's injury ourselves. So I could be the asshole because I am being petty. My friend called upset that I would report this to their homeowner's insurance because their homeowner's insurance had already increased due to their claim, and now they received information that were being dropped due to their excessive claims. So am I the asshole? Comment below. Am I the asshole for abusing the bus stop chain so I don't miss my stop? I take a bus connection route on my way to work every morning. The public transport in my city, in Southern California, is not great, but I am lucky that this bus route works for me. It's been few months since I started taking this route, and there's so many things I find annoying. Unlike buses I've taken before and the underground trains, buses don't announce the next stops outside of main stops. Second, buses don't stop at those other stops and will skip over unless someone pulls the chain for it to stop. I've even asked the bus drivers to help guide me, but most don't seem to like their job and are of no help really. I tried to find ways to ensure I get to my stop without issues. I used Google Maps, the official tracking app, as well as actual map of the bus route, but online means always show me when I have already skipped my stop. And it's frustrating. There's no announcements or any main stops I can put a mental pin on my stop with, and bus doesn't stop. I even try to check my surroundings, but I take the bus every early in the morning, at 5:50 a.m., and it's still relatively dark outside. It's frustrating. So lately, when I have a fair idea I am near, I track minutes and seconds, I pull the chain. Most of the time, bus is forced to stop for like 5 seconds before resuming again, and I can generally tell the next stop is mine. I don't like doing this, but if I don't, I always miss it and have to walk 20 minutes to work when it would take me less than 3. Yesterday it happened again, and the bus driver called me out and was clearly annoyed with me. I apologized briefly, but I still don't know what the solution is. Am I the asshole? What would you do? Comment below and make sure to subscribe. Am I the asshole for getting mad at my husband and sister-in-law for stealing my identity? So they didn't exactly steal my identity to where it matters with the law or anything, but they did claim that my sister-in-law was me in order to get her into our community rec center for a few bucks off. Maybe $9 less. Well, they ended up taking a picture of her to register me into their system. So if I ever want to go, which I will obviously, to take my children swimming or whatever, my sister-in-law's picture will come up. I assume they implemented this since people were just scamming the system saying they were family. My husband is just laughing and thinks it's funny. Now I have to go down there and fix it. The cherry on top is my husband sent a text in a group chat with my sister-in-law, and I didn't notice at all. I sent a very mean text which I have no problem sending my husband, but I wouldn't send to my sister-in-law. I clearly shouldn't have said that either way, but the fact he doesn't care and is rubbing it in my face that I have to deal with it pissed me off. My husband text, "That's our aquatic center account," rolling on the floor laughing, along with a picture of my sister-in-law registered as my name and address. Then I replied, "You guys are so fucking cheap now, you're affecting me." I apologized to my sister-in-law right away, obviously. Edit, I apologize to my sister-in-law because she's not malicious like it sounds. She's a very nice person, she's just aloof and a follower. I have a feeling this was more my husband's doing, hence his reaction. My husband just got back home, I'm on my way to the rec center. Also, I'm aware that the impact of them doing this isn't crazy and I can get this fixed. I'm sure most of you can tell it's a pattern of carelessness from my husband and not caring about me. The guy at the desk was shocked it happened but nice about it. I paid the extra amount she would have owed, $9, and they had to get the director of operations to come down and sign off for changing some details and the picture to me. So am I the a-hole? Subscribe for daily stories. Am I the a-hole for getting upset because my significant other always eats my leftovers even though I've asked him to save them for me? I am the exclusive grocery shopper in our home and cook most meals. I don't usually eat a lot because I am on a weight loss medication and my appetite fluctuates. Last night we had bone and strip strays and salad for dinner. It was delicious but I could only eat half of my steak/salad and wrap the rest up for dinner tonight. My significant other ate all of his. I told him last night I was planning on eating it the following day and asked him to please not eat the steak. He said okay. We had a bunch of other leftovers in the fridge today, meatloaf with egg noodles, which he ate a huge plate of for dinner after eating a deep dish focaccia pizza, and there was also a half of a family-sized chicken pot pie in fridge, plus a ton of other random things in there. I hadn't eaten all day and I finally started to get hungry around 10 p.m. and told him I was going to eat my steak and salad. He said if you don't eat them by tomorrow, they are fair game. I agreed and said okay. 20 minutes later, he got up to go to bed. I heard the fridge open and the rustle of tin foil. I asked, "What are you doing?" He replied, "Having a bite of your steak." I got upset because I had just asked him to save it for me. After all, it was my leftovers from last night. When I got up to check out what was left, half of it was gone and almost nothing left for me. He said he had been taking bites of it all day. I got upset because I felt disrespected in addition to being disappointed that he had eaten the dinner I had been looking forward to all day. He couldn't understand why I was so upset. He called me a psycho for being so bothered, said he would just go get me another steak tomorrow. There were other things I could eat. He knows I can't eat much, so he left what he thought was sufficient for my appetite. Am I the a-hole for being upset about this? Honestly, it's not as much about the food in and of itself. I'm more bothered that I asked him to please save it for me and he disregarded my request. It probably seems small and insignificant to many, but to me it felt like a F you. What would you do? Comment below. Am I the a-hole for being furious that my boyfriend paid half of my dad's birthday dinner when he's struggling financially? I, F30, have been with my boyfriend, M36, for 6 years. When we met, he made about 2.5 thousand euros per month, but he miscalculated his taxes and ended up owing several thousand euros. He changed jobs because the old one was toxic and now earns about 1.6 thousand euros per month plus commission, but hasn't made any commission yet. He also receives about 300 euros per month in government aid. For the past 5 years, 200 euros per month has been taken from his salary to repay the tax debt. It should be finished soon, but he refuses to call them to find out when because it's difficult to reach them. We've lived together for 4.5 years. I make about 2,000 euros per month. We split rent and utilities 50-50. It's around 800 euros each, but I pay for all groceries, euro 450/month. Because of his finances, we rarely go out unless I pay. I usually cover our outings, around twice a week, so we can spend time together. We also can't really go on vacations unless we stay with family or friends because he can't pad anything. He currently owes me about 1,200 euros from unexpected expenses, car repairs, charge adjustments, etc. He pays me back small amounts occasionally, like 50 to 100 euros every couple of months. A lot of his remaining money goes to transportation, 90 euros, cigarettes, 150 euros, and lunches, 200 euros, because he refuses to bring food from home. He often ends the month overdrawn, and I often lend him money to avoid bank fees, which he repays once his salary arrives. Yesterday, my mom invited us to celebrate my dad's birthday at a somewhat expensive restaurant. She clearly said she was inviting us, and my parents are much more financially comfortable than we are. The bill was about 350 euros. While I was in the bathroom, my boyfriend insisted on paying half, 175 euros. I only realized afterward. He refused to tell me how much he paid, but I figured it out when I checked the menu lateral at home. Now I'm honestly shocked and angry. Yes, it's kind that he wanted to treat my dad for his birthday. Normally I like that he's generous. But 175 euros is more than 10% of his monthly income. It basically guarantees that he won't reimburse me anything this month. He'll probably end the month overdrawn again. I'll have to pay for most of our outings again if we go out at all, so in practice, I feel like I'm indirectly paying for that dinner, even though my mom had already said she was inviting us. I'm angry at him for putting us in this situation, and also a bit angry at my mom for letting him do it when she knows our financial situation. It's currently 2 a.m. and I'm crying on the couch because I'm too angry to sleep next to him. He has no idea how upset I actually am because I didn't want to ruin the evening. Usually his generosity is something I love about him, but this time it feels irresponsible and selfish. Am I the asshole for being angry that he paid for my dad's birthday dinner? What would you do? Subscribe for more? Am I the asshole for ignoring our friend on our trip to Mexico? Last year around this time, my friends and I planned a trip to Cancun Dream Nature Resort and Spa. We all wanted to drink, eat, dance and relax on the beach with no kids. I'm the only one without kids, so I was really looking forward to spending time with just my friends to unwind. Every other trip before this was planned with the kids. But this time there would be no early bedtimes, no crying, no screaming, no sand in our drinks because kids think it's funny to throw sand. 1 week before the trip, one of the friends said she's bringing her 10-year-old. This woman can never tell her kid no. We had all warned her beforehand that if this happens, we weren't going to change anything. To say I was annoyed was an understatement, lol, but I sucked it up. I still had 2 friends who were going child-free and had no intention of changing any plans. My 2 other friends and I drank, we ate amazing food, we danced all night and spent the day at the beach. The friend with the kid expressed her frustration about the rest of us doing what we wanted and she couldn't. My response was pretty much, well that sucks, but we're not going to change the entire point of this trip just because of your inability to tell your kid no. We invited her to do what we were doing multiple times, but her response was always, I can't, my kid wants to go. So there was definitely tension between the 3 of us and her the entire trip. When we were making our long way back home, all 3 of us got a really nasty message from her fiancé, calling us bad friends and how dare we not revolve our entire trip around her and their kid. That she had a terrible time and it was our fault. I was like, pardon? That was pretty much the last straw for me. Now I never tell my friends how to parent their children. But their daughter is so nasty. She is so spoiled and, like I've stated earlier, has never been told no. So you can understand how entitled this child is. My other friends are a lot more reasonable when it comes to their children. Their children are polite, have a general understanding about boundaries and they behave really well for 8 to 10-year-olds. My text back to him was pretty much, we made these plans a year in advance. Expecting us to be fine with the fact that you guys dropped it on us that your child was coming a week before we were leaving and then expecting us to change everything and cancel all of our plans because you guys can't tell your kid no, is not fair to us. At all. That is a you problem. Not ours. I'd understand if something came up and she had no choice but to bring her kid, shit happens, people cancel. But that was not the case. Her fiancé was home the entire time and her grandmother was looking forward to watching her granddaughter. But her kid freaked out about not being allowed to go on the trip and they couldn't tell her no. Now her and her fiancé are super pissed. Were we in the wrong here? Am I the asshole? What would you do? Am I the asshole for keeping my kids away from Biomom? I, 36F, have been happily married to my husband, 35M, for 14 years. We have been together for 20 years total, high school sweethearts. Together we have 5 kids biologically ours. In 2018 we took in my now daughter, at 2 weeks old, sister-in-law is her bio mom. They were living out of a vehicle in the middle of summer and sister-in-law was on drugs. I turned her into DHS. During the process of fostering child, she got pregnant again. After having child, we finalized the adoption because she said she doesn't want DHS involved with her new baby. Fast forward 6 months, the baby was born and again she was using again. DHS was called and so were we since we still had our foster license. We took in baby, G, since we didn't want her to go to foster care. Bio mom went to a treatment center, they offered housing, food, and child care. Sister-in-law got baby, G, back. 3 months later they moved out of the center into mother-in-law's house. At this point we had little to no contact with sister-in-law. My husband's grandma passed away and my mother-in-law had a celebration of life. All of their family showed up including sister-in-law and baby, G. My daughter was happy to see her sister but sister-in-law was not happy to see us. But I sweet-talked her into letting us keep baby, G, overnight so my family could spend time with her. She agreed and left the celebration of life right away, which I thought was very strange. We took everyone home and baby, G, got sick throughout the night. I tried everything to get a hold of my sister-in-law but she wouldn't answer my calls, texts, anything. Being an experienced mom, I did what I could at home. The next morning I got a call from DHS that sister-in-law is having baby, G, taken away and was wanting to place her with us again. I told the worker that I had said child and the situation I was in. She said she would make contact sister-in-law to tell her she could not pick the child up. 15 minutes later I heard pounding on my door. It was my sister-in-law with the cops. Since there was no legal documents yet stating the child was being placed with me, I had to give her the child. She went on the run for 2 weeks with the child until she was pulled over while driving, without a license. A worker bought us the child and sister-in-law went to jail along with the baby daddy. A year later their rights were terminated, and we were able to adopt my last child. Fast forward, here where it gets good. Sister-in-law gets out of prison and my girls are now 6 and 7 years old. Sister-in-law thinks she can still play the role of mom. This has created conflict with mother-in-law for a while because she thinks I should let my sister-in-law have a relationship with my girls. I thought I would be nice and invite sister-in-law to my son's high school graduation. Every chance she got she tried telling my girls that she's their real mom and that I'm not their mom. Since then I haven't invited her to anything else, I don't allow her over, and I don't let her have contact with the girls. Am I the asshole for not allowing them to have a relationship? What would you do? Subscribe for more.
Am I the asshole for kicking my cousin out of the house? I, 24M, just lost my father to a heart attack. For context, me and my dad were not close at all. He and my mom had a terrible relationship. Let's just say any horrible thing that could happen to my mother happened to her in that relationship. They divorced when I was young. He stuck around for a couple years and then he just stopped showing up. Despite all of the drama, he still is my dad. Because of his personality, many of our family members had issues with my dad. One of my cousins, Ozzy, 22M, got screwed over by him pretty bad. So much so that the situation caused Ozzy to lose money. He did not fuck with my dad at all and neither did his mother. My extended family was over at my mom's house just spending time together. Ozzy kept making snaggy remarks about my dad. Me and my siblings were brushing past the comments, but it was completely inappropriate. My sister then said something nice about my dad and Ozzy jumped in and said, "You guys don't have to act like he was a saint." I asked Ozzy what his problem was. Ozzy said he had no problem whatsoever. Later, Ozzy was on the phone with his mom and they were talking shit about my dad in the guest room where he thought nobody could hear him. Everyone heard him. As soon as Ozzy came out, I told him if he's going to act like this he can just go. He looked shocked. He said he didn't do nothing wrong. I told him he's been talking shit this whole time so he can talk shit elsewhere. He asked me why would I kick my own cousin out of my house. I told him everyone is grieving and if he's going to be a holy he can just go. Ozzy tried to go back and forth with me, but I told him he can just go. Ozzy then got mad and said he's going to leave if he's not wanted. He left and slammed the door in my face. My mom told me I was an AH for kicking him out. Am I the asshole? What would you do? Subscribe for more.
Am I the asshole for not taking care of my mom after surgery? A few years ago, my father, 52M, wanted my mom, 45F, to get breast implants. She agreed and got them, but it was botched and one implant was done incorrectly. Fast forward to now, and she decided to get it corrected. I, 24F, live an hour and a half away and have a full-time job. Knowing this surgery was coming up, I asked her a week or two in advance if she had already lined up people to care for her, as I had planned to go to another state. She confirmed that my brother, 21M, my grandmother, and my father would help her. Well, guess what? Apparently not. My plans to visit the other state ended up getting cancelled due to unrelated circumstances. When my mom came home from her surgery, I went to meet her at her house to see how she was doing. That's when my grandma suddenly tells me I have to stay with her for 2 weeks until she fully recovers. I was not elated by this. I said I'd stay for a couple of days to help out, but that I have my own life, home, and job to attend to. I also reminded her that my mother explicitly said she had her and my father to watch her, since I was supposed to be out of town anyway. My grandma replied, saying God cancelled your plans so that you can help your mom. Instead of stepping in, my mom took that idea and completely ran with it. Now she is actively guilting me and laying it on thick about how much she needs me to stay. Considering this surgery was completely elective and planned without me, I feel it's incredibly unfair to spring a 2-week caretaking job on someone who never agreed to it. I love my mom and she isn't a burden, but this is a crazy big ask. Not to mention, her recovery seems very selective. She is somehow capable of going to stores and a concert without my help, but suddenly needs me there to do chores and pamper her. Am I the asshole for telling them I'm only staying a couple of days and going home?
Am I the asshole for kicking my friend out? I've, 31M, had this friend, 33M, of mine who's been down on his luck and been in a bad situation at home. Months ago he had asked to crash on my couch for a bit to get away from it, and that eventually turned into having him move in for a bit when he got fired from his job until he could get on his feet again. 2 months went by and he went ahead and got a new job, we celebrated, and right when I was going to ask him to start paying rent or find a place to rent he got fired from that one after 2 months and got his license taken away while he was getting pulled over due to it being suspended from a previous case he never resolved. Now it's been a month since then, and he's told me that he has no money, his estranged mom has actually been buying him groceries, and he's been job searching and trying to get his car issue resolved. It's been a month since that and I've seen no progress, so I'm skeptical. Meanwhile, he makes a mess of the place and has run up my power bill from messing with the thermostat at night. I've heard him going over to it around 2 AM sometimes when I randomly wake up. I often have to clean up after him, and come home from work to hearing him game in the spare room. It really feels like this has gone from a case of me showing a certain kindness to now being taken advantage of. Which does not rub me a good way. This guy has been with me through a bad breakup, so I'd hate to really renege on things, but as it stands, he's not contributing and is actually putting in more work for me. If there was any progress in him getting on his feet, I'd understand, but it feels like he's only regressed recently and I have reason to believe he's been stretching the truth about why he's gotten fired from 2 jobs in 4 months and about what's going on between him and his mom. I've been thinking about this for a solid week and a half, and think it's time that I finally tell him tomorrow that he has a week to get out, non-negotiable. I don't think things will turn ugly, as I'm in my right, and he said before how appreciative he is, but I'd really like to go back to living by myself and not have to worry about cleaning up for someone. Am I in the wrong by any means here? Am I the a-hole? What would you do? Subscribe for more.
Am I the a-hole for leaving a party early? Hi, sorry if this sounds stupid or insensitive. I'm a sophomore in college, F19, and recently had a conflict with my friends that I'm confused about. Freshman year my friends and I went out a lot since we didn't have many responsibilities. This year has been much busier, so I've only gone out a few times for special events. Recently there was unofficial St. Patrick's Day, which is one of the biggest nights at my college. Even though I'm really busy this week and next, I decided to go out for that one night. One of our friends was visiting from another college, so we pre-gamed together and had a lot of fun. After that we went to a party early to get a good spot in line. The party originally advertised $5 entry, subject to change, but by the time we reached the front after about an hour, it had gone up to $20. Things happened really quickly after that. Most of my friends immediately decided they didn't want to pay and left the line. Our visiting friend wanted to stay because she was there with her girlfriend and didn't mind paying, even offering to pay for us, since it was her only weekend visiting. I stayed briefly to tell her what was happening while the others walked away, but everything felt rushed and confusing because the group immediately started heading to another party I didn't know about. While walking I kept asking where we were going but no one really answered until one friend finally yelled the name of the place. When I heard it, I assumed it might also be overpriced. My stomach was hurting, the pregame had worn off, and I was tired from waiting in line for so long. Since this was my one night out and I might end up leaving the next party early anyway, I decided to just go home. I was disappointed, but still glad the pregame had been fun. When I said that, our visiting friend ran over because she was confused. I told her she should do whatever she wanted since it was her weekend visiting, and if she wanted she could hang out with us the next day. She got upset and started crying because something similar had happened before where my friends felt she didn't balance time with us versus her girlfriend well. My roommate and I reassured her she should stay with her girlfriend and not worry. After that she went back in line, I went home, and the rest of my friends tried the other party. It ended up being overpriced too, so they went home as well. Later my roommate told me that some of our friends were very mad at me and our visiting friend for leaving them. I'm confused if that reaction is fair. I understand being disappointed the night didn't work out or that we didn't all stay together, but sometimes nights just end like that. Am I missing something? Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for losing my cool and yelling at my influencer sister-in-law over her constant filming and lack of respect for my daughter's boundaries? I have a 13-year-old daughter, S. My sister-in-law has 2 boys, 8 and 11, who are deep into the Canadian hockey/baseball travel tournament lifestyle. She's a SOM and went down the Insta/TikTok family lifestyle influencer rabbit hole. Over the last year she's leaned hard into the hockey mom thing by posting hotel reviews, game pics, and travel tips. She wants to turn her page into a full family brand. When her boys were younger, she used to say she wished she had a daughter to do girly things with. I included her in a few things with S, like picking out her first communion dress. Back then she was sweet, supportive, and genuinely the cool aunt. Lately, every family thing has become content. She films everything, stages candid moments, narrates like she's vlogging. At Christmas she tried to dictate the whole day. Gifts, crafts, movies all became scripted. The older cousins hid in the basement to escape being filmed. S later told me she hated being recorded and didn't want to be on sister-in-law's pages. Apparently sister-in-law kept pestering her to braid hair, decorate cookies, etc. for content. S didn't know how to shut it down, so she made herself as uninfluencer-friendly as possible, eye rolls, nose picking, etc. Last weekend we went out for my mom's 70th. Sister-in-law immediately started filming again, making the whole dinner awkward until her partner snapped at her to stop. During dinner, S mentioned she was going dress shopping for her grade 8 grad. Sister-in-law lit up and started pushing to come so she could expand her brand into full family content. I ignored her, but she kept pushing. In the parking lot she asked again for the time and place. I snapped. I told her my daughter is not her prop, not her girl substitute, and she does not have permission to film or post her. She got defensive and said I was stifling her creativity and that she needs my daughter because she doesn't have one. I told her off, loudly and colorfully. S heard, but with 2 parents who work in construction, she's heard worse. Later sister-in-law started a group chat saying I was rude, mean, and embarrassed her, and that everyone posts everything these days. She demanded an apology. I refused and reiterated our boundaries. My siblings backed me up and said they also don't want their kids in her content. Sister-in-law hasn't responded since. I know I raised my voice, but she has ignored every boundary. My priority was protecting S boundaries. Unequivocally, I know I am not the asshole for that and I will never apologize. However, my sister-in-law just didn't get it. So, am I the asshole for yelling at sister-in-law in the manner I did? What would you do? Comment below. Am I the asshole for not agreeing to a stranger staying in our apartment with no warning? Throwaway because I don't need more IRL drama. My husband, M31, and I, F35, live in a cramped, cluttered apartment with 2 cats. He works in a fairly seasonal career that is currently impacted by the economy, so he got a second part-time job a few months ago to cover layoff periods. Usually my salary is enough for us to get by, and for the past 6 years I've been covering bills when he was laid off, but I'm on furlough at the moment. Relevant, I promise. He's been making friends at his new job, which is great, and I'm happy for him. 100% encourage him to have fun and do things with his new friends, but it's only been a few months. I don't know any of these people, and he hasn't for long either. Recently, one of his work friends is going through a few things, the details of which I'm not clear on, and will be between housing for the weekend. Without my knowledge, my spouse offered our small couch to this person. I ended up finding out about it on a Friday morning, that this person is expecting to crash at our apartment from tonight until Monday. When I was checking something on his phone, with permission, he got a message from coworker saying he'd need to stay until Monday. Starting tonight. Confused, I ask about it and he freezes for a second and says he volunteered our place to coworker if his plans fall through, but that he wasn't expecting it to happen, so he hadn't mentioned it. As a note, I'm on the spectrum, so I don't take surprises well. Especially when we've got a lot going on and are in the chaotic mid-stage of spring deep cleaning our apartment. I tell him we absolutely can't have a stranger staying for multiple days in our small apartment with no warning and especially not in the state it's currently in. I just can't do this. Obviously, he's not happy about this. He has a bit of a meltdown, ADHD. And asks me what his friend is supposed to do and he's stressed out about telling him no and then seeing him at work tonight. I tell him that this is why we have to discuss things like this, ideally well in advance, especially if it involves inviting people I have never met into our very cluttered home. Husband says he's not a stranger, but he is to me? And he's only known coworker a few months. Annoyed, he says he'll tell coworker it's not an option, but he's not happy because he's paying the bills right now and feels like he should have more of a say. I tell him I appreciate him doing so, but that it's my home too, we're a team and when I'm the one covering bills, I don't hold those kind of expectations for him, so I'd appreciate he not to so to me. Additionally, though coworker will be able to speak to the leasing agent on Monday, I don't see this as a guarantee that they would be able to move on Monday. I understand that stress is a factor here, so I do want to admit that this is unusual for him, and he doesn't usually use this kind of argument, but I'm open to considering that I might be unreasonable. So am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for not getting a gift for someone who watched my cat? I, 24F, asked my friend, 25F, if she could watch my cat for a weekend while I was out of town for a wedding. It was about 2.5 days total. My cat is pretty low maintenance. My friend lives only about 10 minutes away and said yes pretty casually when I asked, like it wasn't a big deal. Before I left, I stocked everything up and made it as easy as possible. I also told her she could hang out at my apartment, use my streaming services, snacks, whatever. When I got back, I thanked her and told her I really appreciated it. A few days later she made a comment like, usually people at least bring back a gift or something when someone pet sits for them. I was kind of caught off guard because she never mentioned expecting anything beforehand. I didn't think of it as a paid or formal favor, more like a normal friend helping another friend out. Now I'm wondering if I accidentally broke some kind of unspoken rule? Some of my friends say a thank you is enough, but others say it's common to bring back a small gift or dinner as a thank you. Am I the asshole for not getting her a gift after she watched my cat for the weekend? What would you do? Subscribe for more.
Am I the asshole for not paying my friend? I was having a couple friends come over to my place to hang out and the friend in question parked on the street taking up 2 spots. Another friend showed up and tried to call the friend in question to move his car forward a few feet so he could fit. He didn't pick up. I get a call asking if I could move his car. I quickly relay the info to the friend in question and say I can move his car really quick. Well, I didn't lock the car after moving it. It is not known if the car was locked before, but we all agree it's a 50-50 chance either way. Well, his car got broken into and $50 was stolen. He is now asking/demanding I pay him the $50 that was stolen since he thinks I should have locked it, but I think that's crazy because it's his car and at the end of the day his responsibility to make sure it's locked. Also, he never checked if it was locked by asking me anything like, did you lock it? I said I could move it after he asked me to move it for him. It's street parking, so it's not like I drove it around, it was literally him not parking close enough to the car in front of him and I moved it 3 feet forward. More info, he is not lying and 100% got the $50 stolen. Also, I'm not claiming it is not partially my fault for not locking the car. I'm saying I don't owe him $50 because it's partially his fault too. So am I the a-hole? What would you do?
Am I the a-hole for not playing dumb on a double date? This happened years ago, but I told the story recently and some of my friends acted like I was an asshole. I used to work with this girl, Chelsea, who would tell me that she always thought I would be a good fit for her friend Nicole. Each time she said this, it felt like she had no idea we have had this conversation before and I was actively getting better at navigating the conversation. For example, I had gone from "is she cute" to "what do we have in common?" And she had gone from rolling her eyes to telling me that we're both tall. Chelsea is very attractive, and her friends match, including this stereotypically very attractive tall blonde named Nicole, and I really wanted Chelsea to follow through with setting us up, but she never did while we worked together. Fast forward a few years and I run into her again. Chelsea is working at this high-end liquor store near my office and I see her from time to time. She mentions Nicole again, says we would be a great fit, and this time I really push for the setup. She tells me the same spiel about how Nicole is also tall, we have the same sense of humor, she's a waitress at a nice restaurant nearby, as well as other interests. Chelsea even tells me that she remembers one day I chatted her up about The Walking Dead at work, and after work she was hanging out with Nicole, who basically repeated everything I had said earlier. We exchange numbers and later that day she tells me a time and place. The plan is for Chelsea, her fiancé, Nicole, and myself. I creep her social medias and it's pretty obvious it's the wildly out of my league Nicole. The morning of she tells me we need to postpone, it sucks but it happens, and we schedule it for the following week. Same place. I come prepared, new haircut, new outfit, studied the menu, everything I could think of to put my best foot forward, and I am introduced to a very different Nicole. This Nicole is short, fairly overweight, works at a daycare. I can tell from everyone's reaction that I am visibly disappointed. I decide to go through with the date, but I just keep bringing the conversation back to what I knew about her. Asking questions like, when did you get bored of The Walking Dead, how long have you been a waitress, and oh, Chelsea mentioned you have been friends since you were kids. Chelsea was trying her best to talk her way around it, but Nicole was visibly upset. The girls went to the bathroom and the fiancé asked me WTF I was doing, and I told him that Chelsea obviously meant to set me up with someone else. He said she did, but Nicole kept asking to postpone and clearly wasn't interested, so she found someone else more in my league. I gave him a sharp look, and he followed with, okay, she found another Nicole. So am I the a-holo? What would you do?
Am I the a-hole for not sending a guy I've been talking to $60 after I already sent him $40? So I, 29F, have been talking to this guy, 32M, consistently for about a month or a little over a month. We actually met in high school and used to talk on the phone a lot back then, but nothing ever came from it. Over the years we would randomly run into each other, but again it never went anywhere until recently when we started talking again. So there was some familiarity there. He wasn't a complete stranger. He works on the road as an electrician and had just gone out of town for work. During the time we were talking he started moving pretty fast emotionally. He told me he loved me and said I was already acting like his girlfriend. That honestly turned me off a little because it felt too soon, but I still told him I liked him and that I thought the connection could grow. I just kept trying to pace things and not rush into anything. A few days ago he asked me something like, if I ever needed something, could I come to you? He framed it more like small things while he's on the road, like hygiene stuff or soap while he's working out of town. I told him of course. I'm generally a giving person, so I sent him $40 just to help out even though he didn't directly ask me for money. When I sent it, I also asked if that was enough or if he needed more and he said he was fine. A couple days later he messaged me saying he needed $60 to make it home. I told him I honestly didn't feel comfortable sending more money right now. We've only been consistently talking for about a month and I didn't want to start doing too much too soon. After I said that, he sent the $40 back and then blocked my number. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I did something wrong by saying no, even though I felt like it was a reasonable boundary this early. So am I the a-hole? What would you do?
Am I the a-hole for only inviting one of my sisters on a vacation? So my 31F daughter Jade, 12F, is turning 13 soon and the only thing she's asked for was a vacation to California with a friend or two. She's also not going to be in town on her actual birthday, so I thought this trip would be a good way to make up for that and a good birthday present. I asked her who she wanted to invite to come with us and she picked her best friend and my youngest sister Mia. Mia is only 3 weeks younger than my daughter and they've grown up more like friends rather than aunt and niece. Unfortunately Mia can't come, but my dad offered to take the girls to do something fun the next time we're all together. He also offered to pay for the hotel as his present for Jade's birthday. My mom also offered to pay for a rental car for us as her present for Jade. Last night I was on the phone with my other sister Taylor, 28F, and I brought up Jade's birthday trip. I was telling her everything we had planned to do and she was really excited for us. I then told her how bummed Jade was that Mia couldn't come with us and Taylor got really quiet and said she had to go and hung up. I was kinda confused but didn't really think much of it until she called me this morning and went off on me about not including her on the trip. I told her that it wasn't my choice in who to invite, it's Jade's trip. I told her that this isn't just like a fun family vacation that everyone is invited to and that I'm sorry her feelings are hurt. I said we can plan a trip all together this summer. She just ended the calling saying whatever. Here's the thing about Taylor, while I love her to death, she's not an easy person to travel with. She can't fly alone or book anything herself because she'll have an anxiety attack. She also makes plans in her head, and if things don't go exactly as she has them in her head, she'll have a breakdown. Jade has specific things she wants to do on her trip that are fully scheduled and paid for, and these things Taylor wouldn't enjoy doing. Jade and Mia also have a totally different kind of relationship than Jade and Taylor have. So am I the a-hole for only inviting Mia? Should I also have invited Taylor?
Am I the a-hole for refusing to get the in-laws souvenirs? My 42F partner's 42M family went on some big trips over the Christmas holidays. His sister went all around Europe with her new fiancé and his parents, and another sister went on a 2-week cruise around the Caribbean. Before they left, I hosted them at my house for a lot of dinners and outings. Then when they returned, we all met at the sister's house that went to Europe. Their holidays pretty much started and ended around the same time. So we went there for breakfast and they start pulling out gifts for everyone. My partner and I have an 18-year-old son. They put some things on the table and say it's for him, then gifts for me partner, and then gifts for everyone else. And not one thing for me from anyone. It hurt, but whatever. My mother-in-law then made a comment saying next time you visit I'll get you something, because she must have noticed I was empty-handed. I just ignored her and we left soon after. Now I'm going to China next week with my dad, and I made a joke to my partner how I will saving money by not be getting his family any souvenirs, and he said I was being petty. I refused to give in and he said I should just get them something because they probably didn't even notice that they left me out. But honestly, I want to invite them over just to show them the cool souvenirs I got for my family only. So am I the a-hole? What would you do? Subscribe for more. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let relatives call me Didi/auntie even though technically I'm their elder? So my dad is the youngest child of the youngest child of the youngest child, as far as anyone can remember. Because of that, the generations are really uneven. There are people who are technically 1 or even 2 generations below me in the family tree who are my age or older than me. I'm 18, but apparently I'm technically a great-aunt to someone around 20. Basically, the generational labels don't match people's actual ages at all. Context. In Indian culture, it's common for younger siblings to call their older sister Didi. When we moved to India, the weird family wasn't a big issue because most of the immediate cousins we saw regularly were younger than me anyway, so it was given that they'd call me Didi and I was okay with it. But on March 4th there was a huge holy gathering that also celebrated my grandparents' 50th anniversary, and basically the entire extended family showed up. I was meeting a lot of relatives together for the first time. During the day I realized just how strange the family tree actually is. I'm technically an aunt, great-aunt, and even something like a grandmother to different people in the family structure. I even found out I'm technically a great-aunt to someone older than me. So when people were introducing me to relatives, I kept jokingly saying something like, "Please don't call me Didi or auntie or anything, just use my name. Some of you are older than me anyway." Most people laughed and agreed it was weird. But at one point the wife of one of my older cousins came up to talk to me. Her daughter is 23, and because of the family tree I'm technically the daughter's bua, paternal aunt. She told me that in this family, children don't call elders by their names and that I should not insult the culture, and stick to the titles, and don't ruin their traditions by insisting otherwise. She also commented, "Whatever your foreign mother taught you," which annoyed me. I told her I think I have enough autonomy to discuss what I prefer to be called with her adult daughter. That turned into an argument, some relatives got involved, and my dad eventually pulled me away because people said I was creating conflict during a celebration. Later my dad told me I should try to respect family traditions since I didn't grow up fully immersed in them. I ended up leaving the holy celebration early and stayed in the hotel for most of the afternoon. I came back for the anniversary dinner later, but some relatives said I was being huffy and ruining the mood. I understand that respecting elders and traditions is important in many Indian families, but it also feels strange to be forced to accept titles like auntie from people who are older than me when I've said I'd rather just be called by my name. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to go along with the titles and arguing about it during the celebration? What would you do? Subscribe for more. Am I the a-hole for refusing to lie to my friend's mother about his college fees? I'm a college student and I've been friends with this guy for a few years now. Recently he told me about a plan he had involving his mother, and he asked me to help him cover it up. Basically, his mom sends him money for his college fees every semester.
This time he wanted to tell her that the fees had increased so she would send double the amount. His plan was to pay the actual fee with part of the money and keep the rest for himself. He said he needed extra money for personal expenses and thought it wasn't a big deal because his mom has the money anyway. The problem is that he wanted me to back up his story if she asked me anything. His mom knows me and has spoken to me before, so he said if she asked about the fees or about college payments I should confirm that the amount he told her was correct. I told him I wasn't comfortable lying to his mother about money, especially something like school fees. To me it felt like helping him deceive his own parent. I suggested that if he needed extra money he should just talk to her honestly or find another way to get it. He got annoyed and said I was being too moral about it and that real friends help each other. He also said I wouldn't lose anything by just agreeing with him if she asked. I still refused and told him I didn't want to be involved in something like that. Now he's been acting distant and told a couple of our mutual friends that I refused to help him when he needed it. Some of them said it's not really my business and I could have just stayed quiet if his mom ever asked. I feel like I did the right thing, but at the same time I'm wondering if I should have just stayed out of it and avoided the conflict. Am I the asshole for refusing to lie for him? What would you do? Comment below.
Am I the asshole for refusing to share my croissant with a coworker?
I just baked a new croissant with colorful glaze that I spent weeks perfecting. My coworker asked for a bite, and when I said no, they called me selfish and said I should share because we're a team. I really just wanted to taste it myself first. I know I could have given a tiny piece, but it felt important to enjoy my creation alone. The action I took was baking a new croissant with colorful glaze that I spent weeks perfecting, then refusing to give my coworker even a single bite when they asked for one, because I wanted to taste it myself first. This might make me the asshole because we worked together every day as a team, they were clearly excited for me and just wanted to share in the moment, and I could have easily broken off a tiny piece without ruining my own experience. Instead I kept something small and joyful completely to myself, which made them feel excluded and led them to call me selfish. So am I the asshole? What would you do?
Am I the asshole for scheduling my wedding 6 days after my sister's 30th birthday? I, 26F, am getting married to my fiancé, 27F, next year. We found a venue we love and an available summer date, at the same price as a non-summer date, which is big in the wedding industry. We've considered a lot of factors for this date: niece and nephew's school schedule, our work schedules, when my temporary contract ends, friends' school schedules, weather, budgeting, travel, etc. The date happens to be 6 days after my sister's, 28F, 30th birthday. When I told her the date she immediately thought I was joking because there was no way I could possibly have suggested a date that close to her birthday. I explained to her how we are not having a bridal party and there won't be events leading up to the wedding, so she has ample opportunity to celebrate how she wants. She has nothing planned for it yet but says doesn't want to have to plan around someone else's event. She also said that it's inconsiderate of us to have the wedding where we live because our older/sick family members will have to travel. I've spoken to them and they are happy about location. She also asked why we don't just get married in 2028. Or elope? And suggests that a 1.5-year engagement is really rushed. After this I decided a phone call would be better to communicate. This was all on text leading up. She said that she didn't even think she would make it to 30, so how inconsiderate of me to not want her to celebrate it. She made many other uncalled for remarks like I only get one 30th birthday but you can get married as many times as you want. And since you won't understand my point I'm not going to even try and understand where you're coming from. We basically got in a screaming match because I told her she kept guilt-tripping me and making everything about herself. Not to mention this was the third conversation I had brought up about the wedding where she had reacted with judgment and self-centeredness. We didn't talk for 4 days because everyone told me to give her time to cool off. I came back wanting to resolve things but she was not letting up. Her main points are that 1. In not being flexible, 2. She now has no autonomy in planning her birthday, 3. I misled her into thinking she had a say in the date. My main points are that 1. She has so many options to plan a birthday celebration considering it is over a year out, 2. There are so many other factors at play in scheduling a wedding outside of her. She has been so mean and disrespectful to me in these conversations that I have sobbed for the last few days and am practically begging her to recognize how the things she said to me have truly hurt me. She refuses to apologize. I don't know what to do at this point. I have apologized to her for getting heated, but not for the date because I genuinely think she can still have an amazing birthday celebration. Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for telling my family to stop calling us to inquire about the pregnancy status? I, 30M, and my girlfriend, 30F, are waiting for the birth of our daughter. She's at term now, and things could happen at any point. We're getting frustrated quite a bit by our families that keeps on calling us all the time in text, asking about a status. As soon as they don't hear from us every 2 hours. It's getting to the point where my GF is stressed, and we had to tell them you will know when something happens, no need to keep asking. We will update you. That does not seem to have worked. My sister tried to call me 6 times yesterday in the span of 20 minutes. So am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for telling my friend about what happened to her old stuffed animals? So I, F20, work at a daycare for low-income parents. Today my friend, F19, was telling me that decided to donate her childhood stuffed animals that were in storage and she dropped them off at the daycare yesterday. She brought it up because she was hoping to see me, but I wasn't working yesterday. The daycare has stuff saying it takes donations, but we get more in toys and stuffed animals than we need, and they're usually not in great shape. My supervisor says to just accept donations no matter what, and we can decide to get rid of whatever we don't want. I told my friend that unfortunately the most likely thing was that the stuffed animals went out with the cleanup trash at the end of the day. She's mad at me for saying that and says she feels bad now because she thought she was doing a good thing. But I don't feel like it's my fault for just being honest with her about how it works. So am I the a-hole here? I feel bad for her, but I don't know what would make sense to help her. What would you do? Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I don't want her smoking around me? So, my mom has smoked her entire adult life. She even smoked when she was pregnant with me. Recently she's been smoking a lot more. She says it's due to stress, but I truly am worried. She is smoking almost 2 packs per day like it's bad. I am also a singer and I can't have too much secondhand smoke around me due to that, and the doctor told me I have an allergy. I told her multiple times that I don't want her smoking around me due to the doctor telling me it's causing my allergies, and she gets insanely pissed. All I tell her is that I am worried about her and that I don't want to be smoked around because it's making my nose run and eyes water. She told me that I am passing judgment on her and that I'm saying she's a bad person because I told her I don't want to be smoked around. I don't think I am passing judgment, and my friends don't think so either, but it bothers me that she thinks that I'm passing judgment on her. So am I the a-hole? What would you do? Subscribe for daily Reddit stories.
Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she is being selfish? 3 months ago I lost my dog of 13 years. He was a border collie and I loved him deeply, and he was a huge part of my life. The last few weeks my mom, who I live with, has been really set on getting another dog. Last night she told me the local pound had 2 border collies. I told her pretty clearly that I really don't want another border collie who looks like my old dog, at least not right now. My old dog was a classic black and white border collie. Today I get home from work and she says she needs to talk to me. She tells me she couldn't stop thinking about those dogs and went to the pound to see them. She said one looked really similar to my old dog, but the other one had some brown on his face, so he looked different. Then she shows me the pictures and honestly it just looked really similar besides the face. Same kind of leg markings and everything. I said they looked the same and she said, well, he's a border collie, pretty dismissively. It really upset me. I went to the kitchen to make dinner and after a few minutes she came in and said she was sorry if she upset me. Through tears I told her what she did felt really selfish and messed up. I had just gotten home from work and she immediately put those pictures in my face after I had already told her how I felt. She said she thought he looked different enough, and I reminded her that I told her point blank what I said the day before. I also brought up how when she lost her chocolate lab it took her about 10 years before she got another chocolate lab again, and I just lost my dog 3 months ago. She said I told her I didn't want one that looked similar and she thought this one wasn't similar enough. But honestly, I just don't believe she really thought that. It felt more like she wanted it to be true so she could justify going to see them. The whole thing just felt really inconsiderate to me. She kept saying sorry and went to the other room, but it felt more like she was sorry about my reaction than sorry about doing it in the first place. Now about an hour later I feel kind of bad for saying what she did was selfish. At the same time I also know I have a habit of feeling guilty whenever I stand up for myself. I did technically say I didn't want a dog that looked like my old dog, but it still feels like she kind of used that wording as a loophole and didn't really think about how it might affect me. So am I the a-hole? What would you do? Follow for more. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom it's her own damn fault people treat her badly? I'll start by saying that my mom lives with us, my wife and I own our home outright, and my mom has her own room and bathroom. We don't charge her rent since she's permanently disabled and doesn't get much in benefits. This is the UK FYI. Every single day. She complains nonstop for an absolute minimum of 2 hours when I get home, or when something happens that gives her an excuse to complain. 99% of the time she complains about the way people treat her. She's my mom, I love her, but she's a total doormat. She has no degree of backbone towards anyone except me. She can't say no, can't set boundaries, can't do anything but do whatever someone with a sad story tells her to. All it takes is for someone to have a bad day, and she'll take some of their responsibility off their hands, and usually put it in mine, since her disabilities prevent her from doing a lot. From then on they just put more and more onto her. Today she ended up doing someone else's entire weekly shopping for them, because they didn't feel like doing it today. She was complaining and whining to me, after I did our own weekly shopping, hers, and this other person's whom she had taken on. She told me it was only a few things, that I don't mind. Saying how people are always so cruel and horrible to her, despite how nice she is. I tried telling her calmly about the problem, despite being so stressed out I couldn't see straight, but she kept ignoring and waving me off, and whining even more. Finally I snapped and screamed at her to just fucking listen to me for once, and then told her, I did not scream for this part, that it was her own fault for being a doormat and she needs to learn to say no and set boundaries, and if she won't, then I will and won't do any of this crap for her anymore. She's now telling everyone what a monster I am for refusing to help someone in need. So am I the a-hole? What would you do?
Am I the a-hole for telling my twin sister to stop making shit up? I, 23F, have an identical twin sister, Sabrina. Me and Sabrina pretty much have done everything together. Even to this day, we live extremely close to each other. Me and Sabrina are dark-skinned black, so of course, we faced colorism and racism. Sabrina decided to be an outspoken activist against colorism and racism. At first it was good. We love to see people speaking out against injustice. However, she started to exaggerate some things that never happened. Sabrina started going on TikTok and different social media platforms talking about how the other black kids at recess wouldn't let her play with them because she was too dark. That never happened, by the way. We were always in the same class in elementary school, so we always had recess together. She also said how in high school, she got no men because she wasn't the beauty standard. We had tons of men approach us each day, all from different races. She also said that black people refused to hire her for jobs but picked light-skinned candidates. Mind you, she's only ever had like 2 jobs before and she's never tried to apply anywhere else. What really ticked me off was when I was watching her TikTok live and she made up a lie. She said that our granny told her she was too dark and she needed to bleach herself to look better. People were eating it up in the comments, but I was like, WTF. I immediately called her and told her to stop lying about this shit. We got into it. She told me I'm an AH for trying to downplay her experience. I told her I was there and this shit never happened that she's saying. We haven't talked ever since. So am I the a-hole? What would you do? Subscribe for more.
Am I the a-hole if I said no to working extended hours even though my other co-workers agreed to it? I work in food service and lately we have been so backed up with prep, putting the product out and all the cleaning that comes with running a kitchen. I work nights, so I'm basically the cleaner along with one other person, if they themselves are not backed up with prep. Almost every night we have been so behind and have wished more help would be sent our way, either by other departments being sent in to help, the morning crew putting in a little more effort, or even just hiring more personnel. For Saturday, I was lucky enough to not have a closing shift and really wanted to take advantage of getting off early enough to go home and have dinner with my family and still tuck my young child into bed. But my manager asked me if I could work 8 hours tomorrow when I was originally scheduled for 6. She asked and I said no. I felt the tension in the air when she snarkily replied, no? My coworker and friend even said, why don't you want to work 8 hours? I am allowed to have a life outside of work, and the fact that my manager asked not even within 24 hours notice is unreasonable. I think I already know the answer and maybe I'm just seeking validation, but am I the a-hole in this situation? What would you do? Subscribe for more.
Am I the a-hole for being upset that my parents bought my sister's car? Hello, I, 21F, have an older sister, 25F, who I'll call Emily. When I was 18, I bought myself a car. I have been working since I was 14, so I saved around $6,500, this is AUDBTW, and bought myself a car. My car isn't super fancy or anything, but I still drive it to this day. When my sister was 16, she also got a car. I used to think she was the one that paid for it. Don't get me wrong, her car isn't a Tesla or anything, but she told me it was around $8,000. The other day we were talking about our cars and my sister let it slip that my parents paid for her car. I thought it was a joke at first, but no one else laughed. I asked them why I had to pay for my car, but Emily didn't, and they started talking about how Emily was bad at saving, and she needed a car for school. I asked why couldn't she have caught public transport to school like I did. I didn't get my car until was in year 12. They kept deflecting all of my questions and I just flat out asked them why they didn't pay for my car in order to make things fair. They said it was because they knew I was good at saving my money. I was getting called ungrateful for thinking my parents owed me a car, but it wasn't about that, it was about the unfairness of the situation. If they thought it was fair, why have they kept it from me for so long? Am I the a-hole for being upset? What would you do? Subscribe for more. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to do a speech at my sister's wedding? I, 21F, am the maid of honor at my sister's, 22F, wedding. The wedding is this fall, and I am dreading it. I would like to say that I am currently a college student and a flight school student. With all of my schooling, I am under a lot of stress, and I really don't have anyone to ask about this.
For background info, I don't think I was originally supposed to be the maid of honor for this wedding. I am 90% sure I was chosen because of scheduling issues with the original maid of honor. Also, my sister didn't ask me if I wanted to participate in the wedding. She told me my role, and at the beginning, I didn't have any issues. However, I have really bad social anxiety. I am talking about panic attacks, potential nausea, and vomiting, really bad symptoms that don't affect me in any other aspect of my life unless I am doing public speaking. I can talk on the radios during flight training and have no issues, but the second I am in front of even a small number of people, I start having terrible problems. My sister is very well aware of these issues, and I have brought them up to her 2 to 3 times now, but she is adamant that I do a speech. A speech she wants to be 3 to 5 minutes long. She keeps saying how important it is to her and how it's her wedding. I can get over it for one event. But I really don't think I can get over it. I managed to get her down to 30 to 45 seconds, but even that feels like too much for me. I have tried to ask her if there is something else I can do, like write her a letter, a short toast, or do the speech with just the bridal party in a smaller group rather than in front of 40 to 60 people. But she has shut everything down. So am I the a-hole if I don't do a speech?
Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that she cannot take her dream job because it is selfish for the rest of the family? My wife and I have been married for 4 years and we have 2 kids. We are 28 and 27. I met her after I graduated college, and she was working as a server. Once our second child was born, we had the conversation about going back to work. She wanted to go back to college and I agreed. She dropped out of college after freshman year. She went back for nursing and passed all of her exams. The plan originally was that she would get a job around our area and we would figure out the schedule from there. She did get an offer for the hospital near us. She also applied to a few other places and she got an offer to be a traveling nurse. Basically, she would get an assignment for a hospital that is short-staffed and go there for a week. After her contract is up, she comes back home until she gets another assignment. She loves the job and wants to travel around the country. She always loves to travel. I have an issue with it because she will be gone for weeks at a time. She won't be around. We got into an argument about this. She is claiming I am stopping her for having her dream job and I am telling her she needs to be around for the kid and for our relationship to work. She claims it will help the family financial. This is true, but we are already comfortable, so I don't see the point in an extra $30K a year. We are not poor. I have a 6-figure job and she literally will make $70K off the bat no matter where she goes. We have continued to argue and she is claiming I am holding her back from her dream position and being able to travel. She clearly thinks I am a jerk and I think she is selfish for wanting to do this when we have a family. If she goes through with this, it most likely will end in a divorce.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay the remaining balance on my mom's phone bill? Last summer, I, 18F, moved out of my parents' house. I was very blessed to work with my family and have a decently low rent. My parents agreed to continue to help me out financially until I got established. This included my dad paying my car insurance and my mom paying my phone bill and taking care of my cat. Due to where I lived, I couldn't take him with me. I paid for everything else: gas, rent, medical bills, groceries, etc. Over spring break, my mom planned a trip for me and my brother. I was very grateful and went with them. Over the trip, my mother made lots of backhanded comments and belittling statements. I'd dealt with this my whole life, so I wasn't too hurt, but I knew that it wouldn't get better. I went ahead and left the trip early. Since then, she's been trying to use things I paid for, like my phone and my cat, to control or punish me. The next day, I get a text from her saying that she's giving me a couple days to get my own phone plan and figure out what to do with my cat, that she's done financially supporting me. I paid the down payment, around $180, and have started paying for my own number. She is now demanding I pay the remaining balance on the phone, around $496, and says I have to mail the phone back if I don't. I informed her before I switched that the balance would be there and she agreed, saying I guess that's what needs to happen. She's also claiming I abandoned my cat, even though I've been taking care of him within my ability. She says that by leaving the family trip and not following her expectations, I'm trying to get the financial perks of the relationship without effort. To make matters worse, my dad has also reacted negatively. He cut off my car insurance and called me a bitch for leaving a trip he wasn't even part of. My parents just recently got divorced, and my mom has been running to him for emotional support. This has been affecting me a lot. I'm financially stressed. I work, pay bills, and now I have to find a new job and move to cover extra costs I didn't agree to. On top of that, dealing with their constant guilt, manipulation, and anger is emotionally exhausting. I feel overwhelmed, anxious, and like my autonomy is being challenged at every turn. I'm trying to handle adult responsibilities while not having many resources, and it's so hard. I just want a mom and dad that supports me. It's not even about the money. I just want someone that loves me without having to tear me down. So, am I the a-hole for keeping the phone, standing up for myself, and refusing to pay the remaining balance on my mom's account? Would I be the asshole for no longer wanting to go to my friend's wedding because of what she said? So I, 26F, have this friend, 25F, who's planning to have an arranged wedding in India in 10 months. I would have to travel from Canada, but I was considering making it work. There's already some stuff that's made me not like her very much. She talks to me in a condescending way and she's controlling to me. My partner despises her, but I've been trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. She said something recently that makes me rethink if I really value our friendship and spend all my PTO and money on this event. She said our friendship depends on you coming to my wedding. I just feel like for something this big it shouldn't be an ultimatum or at least offer to pay for my trip. I'm also planning to buy a condo for the first time with my partner at the end of the year, and another thing she said is you better not buy a place during my wedding. I could make it work, I guess, but these statements have made me feel like she's not worth it. Is it spiteful to decide not to go because of this? We're kind of a friendship trio at the moment, and my other friend, who's also getting married next year and is in school, has mentioned it might be hard for her to go. I asked about all our other friends and their attendance, and she's putting zero pressure on this friend and other friends that have school. I also study on top of my full-time job. Even then, for an event at the other side of the world, costing $1,500 to $2,000 for just the flight, and requiring me to use all of my vacation time, I don't feel like it's fair to put that kind of pressure on your friend. She's putting this pressure on me but not on others. I kind of have a soft/agreeable personality and I have trouble saying no, maybe that's why, and I'm feeling like attending her wedding is not worth it. So would I be the asshole? Would I be the asshole for secretly changing my last name? I, 27F, hate my last name. It's German, very hard to pronounce, a pain to spell to others, and honestly I just want a nicer sounding name. Call me conceited, but try living with people fumbling it for 27 years and then we'll talk. Anyways, the long and short is that I would really like to change my last name. Not just to any name, but one that's meaningful to me. I'm single and have been for a while now. Marriage used to be my light at the end of the tunnel of changing my last name, but as I get older, the less likely that seems, and honestly the less I want it. I've spoken to one family member, not immediate family, about my desires, and they were a little pissed and honestly confused about why I'd want to change my last name when I will probably get married someday anyway. I tried to explain the above. That dating hasn't been great for me, and the less I want it over time, since I have a very successful and fulfilling single life. I tried to explain that it's just something I want to do, it's my choice, and since it doesn't affect anyone else, what's the problem? This family member said that even if I do it in secret, my immediate family could find out and I could risk making them feel like I don't want to be a part of my family anymore. Of course, I expressed that isn't the case and I love my family dearly. But I do see where she's coming from and that it would separate me in name from my dad, mom, brother, etc., and the last thing I'd want to do is upset them. So what do you think? Would I be the asshole for secretly changing my last name? Am I the asshole for not letting my mother hug me or even put a hand on my shoulder? So, my father and mother have been angry at me because I don't let her hug me as much as I let my father hug me. I don't really enjoy any kind of touch from anyone, it personally makes me uncomfortable. What bothers them is that I don't care if anyone else from our family is watching. I always push her away when she tries to touch me, sometimes she even tries to fix my hair to her liking, which I don't tolerate. She always gets angry when I push her hand away from my hair, and both my father and she say I am being too rude/disrespectful. The other day, she told my dad that I did it again, and she was so upset that she started crying pretty loudly. I barely see her cry. When she does, it is because something serious happened, and I don't know if I'm really being too dramatic. And about the fact that her touch makes me more uncomfortable than my dad's, it is because she has done some pretty serious stuff to me. I prefer not to mention it all, just beyond yelling to put it some way, so my mind doesn't find her safe enough to touch me. I tried to explain that once, but she says that because she apologized once, then I should forgive all she did and think that she's my mother, she's done a lot for me, blah blah, the usual. Am I overreacting, or are they? Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for saying no to my mom? I, 20F, currently live with my mom. My twin brother, 20M, is living on campus at college. Over his spring break, we took a trip to Washington, D.C. One of the days we were there got down to 34 degrees with wind and a chance of snow. During that day, we had planned to go to a few museums, and would therefore not be outside for more than an hour. Me, being ADHD and focused on getting ready for the day, neglected to say I was not going to be bringing my jacket. I run warm, and tend not to get cold easily. My mother and brother know this. I was last out of the room, and when I joined my brother and mother by the elevators, my mom lost it. She was doing the whisper yelling you do when you're furious but don't want to make a scene. I went back to the room and grabbed my jacket. When I got back, she said I was being a psycho bitch. For context, I had been in nearly daily therapy for over a year at the time of the trip. One of the things I had been working on with my therapist was sticking to my boundaries. We made it down to the lobby, and I stayed by the elevators and said I would not be going with them. My mom got even more upset and kept asking why I was making such a big deal about it and saying I should just forgive her. I stayed firm and refused to go with them. She then got in my face and called me a selfish bitch. At that point she turned around and left, dragging my brother with her. My brother throughout this had done nothing but tell me to drop it and just keep the peace. I went back up to our room. After about 30 minutes, I got a text saying I had ruined the trip and was being a selfish, entitled brat. I don't think I did anything wrong by saying I didn't feel safe going with her, especially when she was upset. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for not hanging out with friend who's visiting? A friend of over 5 years came to visit and brought her girlfriend of a year. We've always been super easy together, independent, no drama, always communicating incredibly well. Also, we have been on holiday together several times before and never had any issues. They came to visit me for the first time since I moved into a new city. It's the first time I'm meeting the GF. In less than 24 hours, I felt completely triggered by the girlfriend. She can't do anything without clinging to my friend, constant touching, interrupting conversations, pulling her attention away, literally moving my friend's head mid-conversation to get her full attention. It's exhausting to be around and I feel like a third wheel in my own house. My friend seems drained by it too, but doesn't say anything. I don't feel like it's my place to comment on their relationship as I've only met the GF, but it's affecting the whole dynamic. I can't even spend proper time with my friend without the girlfriend literally throwing a tantrum because she wanted to spend time with my friend. I've suggested plans, but the girlfriend doesn't commit to anything, and my friend won't take the lead either. So we're all just stuck in this weird space, my own walking thing, on eggshells, working out, spending time with my partner, because sitting around them feels uncomfortable. They're welcome to do whatever they want in the city, but they didn't even bother messaging and even ask, hey, we're at XX, wanna come and we all grab dinner together? The girlfriend has had several arguments with my friend over minor things, right in front of me. At one point, my friend even asked if I would mind her taking the girlfriend out to dinner, just the two of them, so she could have a serious talk with her. We were out in THR City. Her GF makes me feel like I'm just the host and room provider. I only had a chance to speak with my friend for 30 minutes privately once, but that upset the girlfriend, so we're all kind of avoiding it now. It's frustrating because I was really looking forward to this time together, not all the time, but just to catch up with my friend would be great, just going for a walk and coffee, and now I just feel pushed out in my own home. My partner says I should be warmer and try to hang out more with them, but they also brought up some concerns about the girlfriend being excessively clingy. They told me to talk to my friend about the situation, but I feel like I won't be able to as her GF will not give me the space. I'm not sure how else to bring it up, but I also just want to make sure she feels supported. I really think she's struggling managing her GF and the whole dynamic. So, am I the asshole for carrying on with my life and ignoring they are in my house, or not going the extra mile to propose any plans? Of course I still talk to them and I am very polite, but I refuse to walk on eggshells or spending my day trying to avoid a new tantrum.
Am I the asshole for taking the day off work and I didn't do any housework? I, 34F, have struggled with clinical depression my whole life. I work at a childcare center and it's fucking rough. I feel completely hopeless about the future. Every day, I give everything I have to those kids and it doesn't matter at all. The past couple of years have been so difficult for me emotionally, mentally, and physically. Most days, it's impossible for me to do literally anything after work. I have to do all of my house chores on weekends. Today, I'm not physically ill. However, the past 2 weeks have been especially difficult at work. In order to keep myself from having a mental breakdown, I stayed home from work. I truly completely do not feel good and my husband is completely aware of this. My husband came home from work today and was irritated that I didn't do any housework. Honestly, I didn't do anything. Last week he told me that he wasn't happy that I didn't do anything on Saturday, and I understand that. We both work and we share the responsibilities at home. However, I wasn't supposed to have today off and I needed to rest, so I didn't do anything and planned to do chores tomorrow and on Sunday, my usual days off. Last night, he suggested that I should sort through my things in the basement when I get bored today. I know that he wanted me to get that done today, but I didn't feel bored at any point today. He knows how much I struggle with my mental health. He gets annoyed by my depression because he can't understand and he can't fix it. He says he's tired of me whining. And honestly, it makes sense. I've been talking about how I don't want to be on this planet since we met. I've had to stop going to psychotherapy because we can't afford it. I see a psychiatrist and take medication, but it doesn't really seem to make a difference. Sometimes I think that I am just lazy. So anyway, am I the a-holy for bed rotting today? What would you do? Subscribe for more. Would I be the a-hole if I invite my grandparents to my wedding even if it means my mom will refuse to come? My fiancé, 23M, and I, 23F, are getting married next May. We got engaged last February and have already put down a significant deposit on our venue. Lately, family issues have really been weighing on me and are starting to overshadow what should be a happy time. First, my dad is having a really hard time with my engagement and upcoming wedding. He likes my fiancé well enough, but he doesn't believe in marriage. My dad and I are very close. My parents split when I was 4 and I went through a lot growing up, but he really stepped up for me. He's incredibly important to me. Because of that, his disapproval hurts a lot and has honestly made me question whether I should go through with the wedding at all. Unfortunately, he refuses to talk about it, so I can't really understand where he's coming from. On top of that, my grandfather on my mom's side passed away suddenly 2 months ago. We were very close. One of the last things I told him was that I would leave an empty chair for him at my wedding so he could visit if he wanted to. Losing him has been really hard. The situation around his funeral made things even more complicated. My grandfather and my mom had a very bad relationship, and his final wish was that she not be invited to his funeral. Because of that, she wasn't allowed to attend. She asked my brother and me not to go either, in solidarity with her. But this was our only biological grandfather and we loved him very much, so we felt we had to go say goodbye. She was extremely angry that we attended. Now she has given me an ultimatum about my wedding: either I invite her, or I invite my grandparents, my grandfather's wife and that side of the family. If I invite them, she says she will never forgive me and she won't come to my wedding. I love both my mom, but we have a difficult relationship, and my grandparents, and this whole situation is making wedding planning feel really painful instead of exciting. I've even considered postponing, eloping, or canceling entirely. But we would lose a large deposit on our venue if we cancel. So I feel stuck. So would I be the a-hole if I choose to invite my grandparents even though my mom says she won't come and will never forgive me? Edit: some people are asking if I know why my mom and grandfather were estranged. Without going into too much detail since it's delicate stuff. My mom's an alcoholic, which is hard on anyone around her.
Am I the a-hole for leaving my friend at the brewery when he brought up something that haunts me? A few years ago while on a hike with my wife, she slipped and fell. I was not able to get her up. For those of you who are familiar, this took place on the 14er group out of Chicago Basin. So it was stressful. Thankfully another man was able to get her out, but it was hours later and she had been perched on a cliff under the drop site. She has never been upset with me for not being able to help her by myself. We are both avid, experienced hikers, but I am not a strong guy and she is a sturdy gal. The fear on her face as she fell is imprinted in my mind and something that will always haunt me. For that split second I thought I would lose her forever. Not being able to help her haunts me. She and I were together at a brewery with some friends. One of them was talking about a trip he planned up Como to the Blanca/Little Bear Traverse. We did that one a while back and I had some advice for him. For absolutely no reason he looked at me and said, "Okay, bro, I'm not taking advice from a man who left his wife to rot on sunlight." My wife immediately corrected him, but I was stunned. He thought it was hilarious and had a huge grin on his face. I didn't know what to say, so I just got up to get another drink but ended up going outside. My wife came to find me and asked if I was okay. I was honestly very upset and said I'd like to go. She drove us home. The issue: our friend was expecting us to drive him home, and I didn't say anything or tell him I was going. I just left. He texted me, "Where the fuck did you go, bro?" and "Bro, why are you ignoring me?" and all that. He had to take an Uber home, which was expensive. I asked him why he would bring up that accident when he knows how I feel about it. He responded with a bunch of images of emojis pointing and laughing. He said that my hypersensitivity cost him money, he is out of work, so that is true. And that I need to nut up and learn to laugh at myself. This is not typical behavior for him. I don't really hang out with guys who do all that bro stuff. He has historically been a nice guy. I also would not normally just abandon someone I had promised a ride. Am I the asshole for leaving him without a ride?
Am I the a-hole for making my daughter-in-law cry when proving the earth was round? This is stupid and I really don't feel like I am in the wrong. I am not going to hide that I am not a huge fan of my daughter-in-law. She can be a moron and we have clashed over basic things. My 2 grandkids are at my place twice a week. I like NASA, and I have been staying up to date with the Artemis II journey. My 2 grandkids are 5 and 7. They saw me watching and were confused, the best way to put it. They thought it was fake because their mom told them things in space were fake. I assumed she was talking about space movies, not overall the fact people went to space. I decided to show them the moon landing and some takeoffs. I asked them if they wanted to see a double sunset. This is when you lay down and watch the sun go down. The moment you don't see it, you stand up and get somewhere higher and you will see the sunset again because the earth is curved. My daughter-in-law showed up when we were waiting for the sun to go down. We did the little experiment and saw the sunset twice. The boys had a great time. I made a comment that this one way to show the earth is a big ball. My daughter-in-law had issues with that. She told me I am not telling the truth and that the earth isn't round. I was confused and she told me the earth was flat. I started grilling her why she thought that, and she couldn't give me a reason. I asked her to explain why the other planets were round or why we could see a double sunset. I asked her why boats disappear in the distance from the bottom up. She got upset and said I was calling her stupid. I didn't say it out loud, but this is literally my definition of stupid, thinking the earth was flat. She left with the kids. I got a call from my son saying his wife has been crying. That the boys keep asking her space questions and not believing what she says because I showed them other videos. He told me I have to apologize and that I overstepped. I told him I won't apologize because the earth is literally round. He said he knows, but I need to apologize to keep the peace. So am I the a-hole? What would you do?